You're listening to Pitch Perfect, the podcast, not the movie. I'm your host, Nate. Joining me is my co-host, Josh. You might know better as the lead ooze wrangler on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. And joining us again for the second time in a row is the Steve Martin of Pitch Perfect, Zack.
Hey!
We did leave him in the recording room for the entire week. He seems fine, a little dried out. But honestly, I mean, that's how Steve Martin got to be such a frequent guest on SNL. They just locked him in the studio.
Yeah, leave is a very generous term. I was brought to a room. The door closed behind me. There was no way out. There was a slot that every now and then would let out Cheetos and half-drunk boxes of Capri Suns. Thanks whoever drank half my Capri Sun, by the way.
I was testing them for poison.
And now here I am, and the only thing that ever played was Ernest Scared Stupid.
That's all you needed. Also, much like Steve Martin, Zack will in fact play some banjo by the end of this show.
And I have a fake arrowhead on.
Mm-hmm. But that's normal. You had that before.
That's true.
Alright. Well...
Josh, I heard you also wrote Ooze's rap for that movie. Is that true?
That is correct. And, as I would normally say to the Ooze, let's get the show on the road. Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. The infamous hero is now the man of the hour. Ernest P. Worrell. Best be in a position to use his amazing powers in a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and the American way. Ernest has assumed the disguise of a mild-mannered sanitation worker. Julius Caesar. Genghis Khan. A grandma. A wacky aunt. A lumberjack. A big game hunter. A cowboy. An airplane pilot. And an army guy. That's right. Welcome to The Importance of Being Earnest, where my co-host and I, and our fabulous guest, who definitely stayed out here by his own decision, talk about Ernest's incredible legacy and how things might have been different if Jim Varney hadn't returned to his home planet so soon.
This is the first season, The Importance of Being Earnest. We're going to watch all the Ernest movies, and in the end, we're going to pitch the perfect Ernest movie. And then next season, we'll do it again. No, we'll pick a different category.
And I mean, what you guys are doing now are mining previous Ernest movies to find the elixir that makes the perfect Ernest movie. So what you're doing is...
God's work.
Yeah, it's not just important, it's necessary.
Yeah. No, this is valuable. This podcast is going to go in the Library of Congress.
It's why I'm not upset. I mean, after day 5, I was like, you know what? I have a feeling you're going to have me do the show again. That's why we're doing this. And I'm fine with it.
You have to sacrifice for your country, man.
This is not for my country. This is for my Ernest. So I'm stopping you. Continuing with my my running thing of asking you guys a question at the beginning of the show. Where are your guys' heads at right now? Are you feeling confident? Like, do you feel like you're getting closer? Or after watching this movie, without spoiling how you ultimately feel about it, do you sort of feel like you're just turning your wheels? I'll start with you, Josh. You feel like you're getting closer to your goal? Or
a thought-provoking question.
You're in the weeds a little bit?
I think it's a little bit of both. We watched Ernest Scared Stupid this week. And we're getting... So this is the 4th movie out of 10, basically. And we're getting, similar Ernest feels and vibes. But at the same time, it does feel like it might be running a little bit in circle. So I think we're getting the details that we need, but we also might be in the weeds. I'm not sure. It's a mixed feeling.
Nate? Where you at?
I feel the opposite. I feel like it's impossible for us to lose. Because if we watch a movie and it feels like we're spinning our wheels, if we don't learn anything new, it just strengthens our confidence in the things we already know,
I love it.
If we watch a movie and it adds a bunch of new stuff, then we've got more material to analyze to figure out what the perfect Ernest movie is. More elements that could be added, more elements that could be stripped away. So I don't really think... I think this is an unstoppable train that is rolling towards Ernest perfection.
Okay, so I know we're not in the same room, but I wish we were, so that you guys could see that I wrote down Josh is going to be unsure, and Nate will be 100% confident that they're going to get there.
No, you got us. You got us pegged.
I'm gonna take a picture and send this to you guys.
Amazing.
All right. So, all right. Thank you, Josh, for allowing me my opening questions. I give the floor to you.
Well, I think we kind of touched upon it. We watched Scared Stupid this week. Let's talk about it.
Do you want me to give a little rundown of what happens in this movie? I think this might be the most complex, plot-wise, Ernest film yet.
For sure.
Is it?
I think so.
Out of the four that we watched.
I feel like this is so much more straightforward than last week's. But go ahead.
No, that's true, right? Like, this makes more sense, like, as a movie. Like, I can watch this and be like, I understand why they made this movie the way they did. It's not as baffling as some of the choices that were made in Goes to Jail. I'm just saying, like, pure terms of, like, plot mechanics, like, twist and turns and amount of events happening, there's just more here than there is in the other ones. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I would take issue with the term like twists and turns. The same thing happens a lot.
Yeah.
They rinse and repeat quite a bit in this film.
Maybe that's what I meant, and I was just being overly nice to this movie.
I have a shocking realization for, like, I don't know, maybe the middle of the podcast, or maybe I throw it out there now. You know what? Hell yeah, I'm throwing it out there now. I actually think, given where I'm at right now, having watched both of these, Goes to Jail and Scared Stupid, I think I might like Goes to Jail more.
You know, interesting. Like, before we rewatched it for this podcast, I would have pointed at you and screamed like I was in Invasion of the Body Snatchers if I had heard you say that. But now, after rewatching it, I'm like, I don't know if I'm on the same page as you, but I can see the page, and the writing on it is legible to me.
I strangely had so much more fun watching Goes to Jail than I did Scared Stupid. But should we... I don't want to take up too much of the thing, because I have a couple of notes, but I don't want to give them all away too soon.
Well, let's get back to what we were doing. So, Nate, I think you're about to recap the twists and turns of the plot of this movie for us.
Yes, I'm going to do that. So, this movie starts like 100 years in the past, where, like in the colonial era, where Ernest's ancestor is a preacher who has captured a troll.
Well, the town captures the troll.
The town captures the troll, and then he does some sort of ritual, I guess calling on the power of God?
The Worrells believe in a higher power. You guys have established that. But he has, like, Orville Redenbacher makeup on, and it's wild.
Yeah. He's played by Jim Varney, just to be clear. Anytime a relative of Ernest is going to show up, I'm pretty sure they're always going to be played by Jim Varney.
And his name is Phineas Worrell.
Yeah, and so he seals, prefiguring Samurai Jack, and also Fern Gully, he seals the evil inside of a tree. And then with his, not dying words, but I guess like his last words before he's stuck in a tree, the troll curses the Worrell bloodline so that each successive Worrell is stupider than the last. This is giving us an origin story for Ernest, I guess. Cut to the present day, which is actually like, well, this movie was like, what, 91?
That's correct.
94? So the early 90s, Ernest is still in the town that his ancestors lived in, and he's working as
Briarville, Missouri.
Yes, Briarville. And he...
An interesting detail, because I don't know if they ever specifically say the city and state that, like, his life is taking place in.
This is specifically shouted out, and Saves Christmas is specifically set in Orlando, Florida, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, then I take that back.
I don't know this. Yeah,
we don't know where Goes to Jail or Camp was specifically set, but we know that Christmas was in Florida, and only Florida, and this one has like a title card for like Briarsville, Missouri, which was interesting.
That's what I thought was notable. Also, like Nate said, it's colonial time, and that's how everyone's dressed. but it just says some time ago, which I thought was wild.
Well, there's a revelation later in the movie.
That's why I point out the some time ago thing, because of what you're talking about.
Yeah, we could be looking at a M. Night Shyamalan's The Village situation.
Yeah.
All right. Oozes. Let's get back to the plot.
So Ernest is a sanitation worker. He's got Rimshot with him. He's friends with a group of bullied children. He is sent at one point to... Oh man, I cannot remember her name. Do you remember the name of Eartha Kitt's character in this?
It's Old Lady Hackmore.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so she's got like a bunch of scrap iron sculptures on her property. Ernest is sent to clean that up, and he gets scared and runs away. The kids get bullied by their bullies, and they and Ernest join forces to build a tree house fortress to repel the bullies, which happens to be in the tree that the troll is sealed in, and Ernest accidentally unseals the troll, who then goes stalking about the town, turning children into wooden dolls to take back to his tree to power some kind of thing that will release his troll brethren from pods that are growing in the tree. Ernest is trying to stop the troll. Eventually he teams up with Old Lady Hackmore, who has some sort of connection to the story of the troll. It is later revealed that she is a survivor of the troll's previous attack. That's where we might get into the village situation. Ernest loses pretty bad to the troll for a while. All of his child friends, except for one, get turned into wooden dolls. Rimshot gets turned into a wooden doll. The troll beats the crap out of him. Eventually he learns that the trolls are weak to milk, but the troll releases the other trolls. There's a big milk battle with the trolls. The main troll powers up with demon powers and goes to fight Ernest one-on-one in a ring of fire. But then Ernest defeats him with an unconditional love in the heart of a child. And he is the hero, and that is the end of the movie.
Yep.
Yeah. So, that's Ernest Scared Stupid. Well, what are you be thinking? Compared to the other Ernest movies, that sounds crazy. Why is that the plot of this movie? I don't know.
Well, it's weird because it in a strange way, and I never thought I'd say this about an Ernest movie, it's trying to do too much because it's trying to be a kid's movie. This is the first one that really feels like, oh, this is for a child audience for me. Not first one, but like between this and the last week's episode. Last week's episode, I don't want to talk about too much, but it also felt like, oh, this is for kids and their parents. This one feels down the line for kids, but it also is following the rules of like a horror movie structure a little bit, where there, instead of a final girl, there's this little kid, Kenny, and there's like Lady Hackmore is like the prophecy of doom, and Ernest, like a little bit like Christmas. Like you could have this movie and Ernest not be in it, and it would still kind of work as a movie because it's trying to do so much crap. Like
I think I kind of agree with that, but it would take way more work to make this not have Ernest in it than Six Christmas.
You literally just cut out like the entire this town captured a troll. They put it in a tree and just like don't go near that tree. The kids awaken the troll, and you know what I mean. Like you literally. I'm not saying you should. I'm saying that's one of the things I kind of don't like about it. Is it's like it's trying to do too much. I don't know how else to put it.
I guess, but so much of this movie is about, like, Ernest fucking up. Like, he has a kind of a character arc in this, more so than Saves Christmas, that is about him, like, proving his worth to the town. And he is the one, like, the kid, like, is important in the initial battle against the big trolls, but the end final climax of the movie is just Ernest the troll.
Yeah, but that's such a subtle arc, if it is one. I mean, like, he doesn't really... He doesn't want anything in this one, which is interesting. There's not, like, he doesn't have a goal, right, which is fascinating. Like, we are literally just introduced to a perfectly happy Ernest who, he doesn't want to go to the scary house, the Lady Hackmore house, because it's scary.
He doesn't have an ambition. I mean, he gets a goal, which is defeat troll.
Right.
But yeah, he doesn't want anything more at the beginning of this movie.
He also has he's friends with the kids, so there's like, he has the best intentions before waking the troll. So, you know. Go ahead, Josh. I'm sorry. It feels like you want to...
It's okay. No. I was going to say, well, let's get into it, because like we're kind of going all over the place. Let's start breaking it down, go down the movie, and talk about all this. So... Okay,
where do you want to start?
Well, to start, let's start with the start. The movie opens at a good Ernest opening, I think. I mean, we have that, montage of him getting scared by old, like, black and white horror movies. I
think this is my favorite opening credits yet.
Yeah, I think so as well. It's extremely goofy, and at one point he clearly claws himself with his own werewolf hand. But
yeah, I wrote that
him
down
like
too.
Doing the screams and like reacting to old black and white horror movies, I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's like old. I assume stuff that the studio has access to, or it's in the public domain. But they cut to a monster. And then they cut to Ernest with some dramatic lighting on him, acting scared in various ways. And that's the opening credits. And he does a lot of great rubber face work in this sequence. It's probably the best one they've done yet.
Definitely better than In Jail. Because it feels like... So, I think a big difference for me from this movie and Ernest Goes to Jail is this movie feels more like a movie that was released in theaters versus straight to DVD.
Yeah, it's definitely got more of a unified tone, too, which I think is evident in the fact that, like, the opening credits actually do set the tone of the movie in this, which they don't really in Jail. Like, those could have been the opening credits for an entirely different movie, where these feel like they're more tied to what's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree. I like Jail better, but I feel like this is just a better... It's better... There's a higher... They have more money, so there's a better production value to this one. But I actually kind of think the Jail one is a little bit more fun.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah, no, I mean, but this one is also, it's very good. I mean, it's the Jail 1 plus. They're doing the exact same bit of here's some imagery that's associated with the topic of this film and Ernest being wacky. And the wolf glove thing, Josh, that you brought up was probably my favorite one.
Because it's so dumb and clearly, like, he's doing it himself.
Yeah, it's such a, like, your uncle does that bit, and you know it's not funny, but that's what makes it funny. I don't know why. I just loved it so much.
I think if we're comparing this to the Jail one, I think the reason I kind of give this one the edge is because both those openings make a promise that only really this one keeps. Because they're both like, okay, here's Ernest, and here's a bunch of imagery associated with, like, a very well understood genre.
Right.
And it's like, here it's horror movies, and there it's crime movies. And Ernest Goes to Jail ends up being an entertaining movie that is not really, like, a crime movie. It's not even really a jailbreak movie. This, like, has all... It's not... I wouldn't say this movie's scary, because it couldn't be. Because it is for children.
Wow.
But, like, this is structurally a horror movie in a way that Jail is not structurally a crime or jailbreak movie.
Yeah. I think that's the most ambitious thing. I mean, it's incredibly ambitious, and I applaud the attempt. And after the credits is the flashback.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I really love Jim Varney just playing other characters in the movies. Because, like, any other, like, makeup that you see him in, he looks awesome. And I think him as that, like, old man preacher, Phineas Worrell, he looked great.
Yeah, it's another one of those things where it makes you kind of bummed for, like, the missed opportunities of his career, where it's like, I could have been down to see him, like, in a movie with some makeup on, playing, like, a hellfire and brimstone preacher.
Right, and he could, like, bring in, like, Nash to that, and be, like, an evil character, and do an actual horror movie, and probably kill it.
I'm glad you brought that up, because this was a thing I might be projecting onto this, but this entire film, and I'm going to go back to this a lot, actually, I think, in this episode, he feels a little bit joyless in this one. It feels like a little bit... I do. I think I really got the vibe of, like, he's just clocking in and clocking out, which is still, like, Jim Varney's incredibly talented. But I don't think he was mad at Ernest. I just don't know if he was, like, I don't know if this was a direction he wanted to go in, or I don't know. I really tried looking it up today to see if I was just projecting.
They say, like, never work with children or animals, and he's doing both in this movie, so I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if he wasn't having the best time.
Yeah.
While he was filming this.
Sorry, what I really like is that you kind of, like, project this image in my brain of, like, Jim Varney, like, clocking in, and it's like, oh, well, time to go make the Ernest donuts again.
Yeah. And I'm not even being hyperbolic. I actually really got that vibe all through this film. And I started getting it during the opening thing with him doing all those bits, because all I could think about was, like, I wonder if that was more than one day of them handing him shit and being like, look scared but funny. And he's got to, like, put out a cigarette and, like, put on that glove. And, like, I don't know, I don't want to get too real, but, like... it didn't seem like he was having the fun that he was having in jail to me.
I think that's a fair assessment.
But he has also, I like that you said he looks great. He looks like Orvin Redenbacher, Josh.
Right, yeah, exactly, but he looks great.
Do you not like popcorn, Zach?
I think, like, the Earl Redenbacher look is a good look for him. You know, not many people can pull it off, but he does. And also Nate could probably pull it off, I think.
The hair looks like that ivory wig that Pierce's dad wears from Community. Like, it does. And Josh is like, man, he looks great. And I was like, okay.
I mean, he looks great as a frightening, weird preacher, which I don't necessarily think he's supposed to be. Because, like... He is doing something, I guess, ostensibly heroic in that sequence.
But at the same time, it kind of, like, reminisces as to, like, witch hunts and, like, Salem. And, like, I think what you're pulling from that vibe is that he's not necessarily doing an evil task, but he's, you know, invoking that image of that, like, witch chaser that is bringing down this supposed creature, which, you know, in reality wasn't really witches.
It was trolls. This movie's a documentary. Turns out the trolls are unfairly framed. I mean, the witches are unfairly framed during the witch hunts. It was actually Trantor was out there the whole time. It was all his fault.
Well, actually, I read that, I mean, I don't want to correct you on here's what I read was, like, you know, Salem had a lot of witches, but what people never talk about is Briarville, which was up to its neck in trolls. People just don't talk about it.
I mean, you don't really, like... It's kind of weird, I think, that it is a troll in this movie, right? Because I don't associate... I mean, except for the one in the White House, I don't really associate trolls with America.
No, it is an odd thing, but it does feel like... I mean, I don't know. It does feel like, well, sure, that's a word that's kind of like gremlin or, you know, goblin. And, you know... I
have a theory.
Go ahead.
That in the script it was just called a monster, and then at some point someone went, it can't just be a monster, and they're like, it's a troll.
I mean, I personally, as a horror movie fan, I think they picked troll on purpose, because to me it makes sense as like, oh, this is a kid's movie, let's pick a kid's monster. You know, like, let's pick something that could be both goofy and also kind of serious, but not really. And, you know, there's points where it has those fights and it works, and it, you know, I think Troll was a good choice, and it to me seemed like a really, like, thought out choice, because it couldn't be like a scary witch or something else to, like, kind of borrow from other things like Halloween Town that would just do witches and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that holds water.
Okay, man.
So in this movie, Ernest is in Briarville, and he is a sanitary engineer or some sort. He's moving on up from being a groundskeeper at a camp to a groundskeeper for a town, more or less.
I don't know. We'll get into the timeline.
Well, what's interesting in this movie is, like, we find out that he has a curse to get dumber over time, and it starts with him weirdly being very dumb. Because he does this thing where he uses his craftsmanship to mop multiple trash cans at a single time.
None of us understood what this was.
Yeah.
It's like a machine with like 8 trash cans in a row, all connected on this big bracket, and then dumping in and out of them are a bunch of mops, and it's all like sudsy. And the only thing I can conclude is that he's cleaning a bunch of trash cans, which is not a job that a garbage man does. Like, they don't clean your trash can. They just leave it at your house.
That was like, it was almost like the set guys were like, I don't know what to build, man. So here's a really cheap, easy thing we can do, and just stop talking to me. Like
you are implying so much attitude behind this movie, Zach, and I'm here
what,
for it.
Josh? Why in the world? All right, Josh, this is on the level of chain 3 dogs together. What the hell are we looking at? What are we?
I'm with Zach on this one.
No, you're 100% right.
The weirdest thing to me is they could have cut it entirely, because the thing that happens like after that is we get like a wild slapstick sequence where Ernest gets stuck in the garbage truck and the trash compactor is happening, and he could have just did that. Like, it didn't need the setup of like he built the wacky thing. It could have just been Ernest fucks up with the garbage truck, and that's how we get introduced to him being a wacky screw up.
Yeah, there's this weird chasing Pee-wee thing that they just shouldn't do, because it doesn't feel like that's just in the script. It's not like Varney's like, you know what we should do is we should have him constantly be inventing stuff. Like, he just wants to do voices and shit. Like, I don't understand, especially when it doesn't make sense. Guys, when we were watching it, I felt like a dummy for I had this panic for a second of like, was I not paying attention? Or was that just a bunch of trash cans getting dumped by mops? Like, I had like in those old-timey movies where like then the bum stares at his bottle and shakes his head and throws it behind him, like where I was like, maybe I should stop drinking because I don't understand what I was just staring at.
No, we were all baffled by it. I mean, maybe all of us weren't paying attention to something that set that up, but I don't think that's the case. No, it was just a completely unnecessary contraption.
If I could describe the relief I felt when you both were like, I have no idea, and I was like, okay, good, I'm not having some kind of flashback.
I wish Nate and I had that like mental connection between us where we could just like been like, yeah, totally, we get it, Ernest, gotcha, and then just
obviously
just pranked you
just to clean them, But
yeah.
Like how they clean them.
But then,
do it every day.
Said, he gets stuck in the trash compactor, and they really kind of play that. Was I misunderstanding? That's not really done so much for comedy. He's like having like a holy crap, I'm going to get smushed moment.
Yes.
Yeah, it seems pretty real. I mean, not real, but like it is like
they're playing it to scare us, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So what happens is he's in the trash for some reason, and then Rimshot is in the truck and accidentally presses a button that locks him in the dumpster, and then also accidentally presses a button that's going to compact the dumpster. And then he has to sacrifice some kind of baby doll that he gives a voice to and says has a family and will swear revenge, and shoves it into the gears of the dumpster, and it doesn't work.
I thought it was kind of funny when the baby doll...
Oh, yeah, me
when
too.
he has the baby doll say, I know where you live.
But I mean, I think this sets up that Ernest is resourceful, and he can operate under pressure. It foreshadows the troll dolls, and the sacrifices that Ernest is going to have to make throughout this movie. And that's why I think this sequence is in there.
And then he presses a button and gets electrocuted. Hashing back to goes to jail.
Yes, but critically, he doesn't get magnetized. This is important for the timeline.
Oh, no. Well, let's talk about the timeline right now, because I actually have a thought based on what happens next. So Ernest, he gets himself out of the dumpster. He's fine. And then 2 of the kids show up, the little girl named Elizabeth and the sheriff's kid, what's his name? Kenny.
Oh, he's Kenny? Oh, okay, Joey's kid number 3. Got it.
Yeah, Joey is the least important one. He gets taken out early on.
And then when Elizabeth is like, what's going on here? Kenny does a John Wayne impression where he says, well, little lady, and then something, something, something. And it's like, well, Ernest must have been here a while, because the kids are already doing his impressions.
Yeah, so, okay, this is my take on the timeline. I think this has to be the first one. Ernest is still in his hometown. He's electrocuted and he doesn't get magnetized. He's been here for a while. Like, I think this could be concurrent with Goes to Camp, because I've established in my timeline theory that he's only at the camp in the summer. So this could be in the time of Goes to Camp. But I think it has to take place before the end of Goes to Camp, and thus before any of the other movies. This also puts it in both timelines. It's in the failure timeline and the immortal timeline, but prefiguring his immortality. He is also, at one point, I wrote on here that he knows fear. And then I wrote the electrocuted but not magnetized. Those are my two main notes on the timeline. Now, the thing with this is rim shot, right? Because he doesn't have... We established in our discussion on the timeline that goes to jail... You must just leave rim shot with someone when he goes during the summer to the camp. That's the only explanation I can think of.
He could leave it with Vern.
But doesn't he have a pet turtle? Why would he have a pet...
turtle must live at the camp. Or, alternatively, we never go to Ernest's house as far as I can remember in this.
We go to Ernest's house and goes to jail.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that makes sense is the camp Ernest is the Ernest that goes to jail. Because that's why, when he's electrocuted on a lethal level, it's mutated into that happening to him. I actually think even the what happens in the beginning of the movie would have killed any other man. But because he has, the eagle's claw or whatever horrible thing they call it in that first camp movie, that's why. But I also think you're right about, perhaps, and it pains me to say this, that Christmas is happening on, if not the, Ganon wins timeline, at least some type of dark timeline where Ernest doesn't care about as many people and stuff like that. So I actually think if anything makes sense, this is a third timeline.
Okay, that was my other theory, is if this isn't the first one that happens before the timeline divergence, this is the last one in the failure timeline, where Ernest moves back to his hometown.
Yeah.
And at some point he acquires Rimshot, meaning there's some sort of multiversal connection between Ernest and Rimshot.
So remind me, by the way, that completely that makes complete sense to me. But remind me, in Christmas, do we ever go? We do go to his house, because that's where he starts opening the bag and the weird stuff comes out, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that was at Vern's house.
Do we know that he has a home in Orlando?
No. Because they go to Vern's house to destroy it, but they go to his house. That's also where he makes the pancakes.
Oh, right.
Got it. All right, so Scared Stupid.
So Scared Stupid is either the beginning of the entire timeline or the end of the failure timeline.
Okay, I lean towards the beginning of an entire one, but I'm also open to the end of the failure one. I believe that this could be the same Ernest that met Santa Claus, and after meeting Santa Claus was like, that was weird, I'm going home.
And then he fights a troll.
Well, let's revisit this. So we kind of establishing some things here, but we have a lot of evidence to go through.
Thematically, that's also beautiful, because this seems to be the only Ernest. That would also mean this is the only Ernest that experiences holidays.
Yes, this is the holiday timeline, where Ernest isn't immortal.
So our pitch for our pitch perfect thing at the end of this is going to be Holiday Ernest.
I mean, it's going to be Enter the Ernest verse, where failure Holiday Ernest and success goes to jail Ernest have to team up. Or oh god, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is
no.
What if Immortal Lightning goes to jail Ernest? He falters in his belief and dies, and failure Ernest has to replace him.
Okay, all right.
God, we still don't know what happened to Nash.
Yeah. My perfect movie is going to be Enter the Ernest verse, the redemption of Nash.
All right.
I'm sorry, Josh. I have to get this out. I have to get this out because it really bothers me now. We never talked about, like, we just were, like, okay with Nash and Ernest looking alike. Like, they have to be twin brothers, right? Like,
No.
What do you mean, no? What?
I think it's... Did either of you guys read Mark Waid's run on The Flash?
No.
There's a thing in that where there's a villain called Cobalt Blue who he hates the Flash. He hates Barry Allen because he is Barry Allen's twin brother who was separated from him at birth because of a drunken doctor.
Yeah.
And I think that's Nash's origin story. He's Ernest's secret twin brother.
That's fine. I'm cool with that. I just wanted to make sure we acknowledge that Ernest has a twin brother who went in a completely different direction in life.
I mean, I just want to establish that in the last episode we talked about how we might be seeing this through Ernest's eyes, and any lawyer that Ernest sees is played by the same guy. Any two guys that he sees that work together are played by Gaylord Sartain and Bill Berge. And you have to establish Nash just can't be another person. It has to be his
Other
twin
people
brother.
think he's Ernest.
No, other people think he's Ernest, dude. It's not just... It'd be one thing if Ernest just saw this guy.
He looks like me.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to yell at you.
No, it's okay. We are getting so far away from the beginning of this movie. We haven't even gotten that far into talking about the plot yet.
We glossed over the Nash thing because I think I remember me specifically being like, oh, it's just like how every show has like a Prince and the Pauper. It's just like a rule of fiction that you have a doppelganger.
Here's the thing. We started talking about the timeline, and it was like, the more I think about it, there has to be other Nashes then. And I just wanted to just establish that, like, everywhere he goes, there's this Negaduck version of him, more than likely, because...
It's a legion of infinite Nashes are really the villain.
And that's
my pitch. Council of Cross-Time Nashes.
That's what I was getting to.
For every yin, there's a yang. For every Ernest, there's a Nash.
Yeah. So,
For every rim shot, there's a second similar identical rim shot.
I'm going to take the range, Joss. So the sheriff, the sheriff is leaving the police station, and the mayor pulls up, and the mayor's like, "Have you had Ernest clean up the Hackmore estate yet?" And he's like, "No, not yet." And the mayor hates Ernest, he's like related to Smurfenheimer from the last movie. And Nate...
There's always someone that hates Ernest.
Nate pointed out, or Josh did, excuse me, I think it was Josh who was like, why is the mayor in charge of the trash guy? No, because the mayor's like, if he doesn't clean up the Hackmore place, fire him, which he says to the sheriff.
I think that was me that pointed it out.
Yeah, and then, why is the sheriff in charge of whether or not Ernest has a job?
Then later on, the mayor seems like he can just fire Ernest on his own. He doesn't need the sheriff to be his hatchet man.
That sort of makes sense to me. It still seems crazy, but, I don't know. If you work in the town and the mayor runs the town, I don't know. It also kind of implies, the mayor sees, a lot of applications and stuff and has to do hiring and firing.
This is one of those movie towns that's, nonsensically small.
Right.
There are 40 people in this town.
Yeah.
And there's one guy whose job is to be in charge of the garbage, and there's a sheriff and one deputy.
Yeah. And what's interesting is later on in this movie the mayor actually does fire Ernest. So that whole scene in retrospect doesn't make any sense.
The mayor is also the father of the bullies.
Right, and then the sheriff is the father of Kenny.
Yeah. In the opening, we kind of glossed over it, but the opening's flashback turns out to be a story that they're telling in class, and that's when we meet the kids, and then, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Elizabeth, that's her report, her history
report.
The bullies make fun of her.
And the dudes the Murdochs make fun of her. So I guess it's Mayor Murdoch.
So yeah.
And then also Father of the Bully is speaking of Steve Martin, my favorite Steve Martin movie.
Yeah, Zach, you were great in that one.
Thank you.
So, the sheriff convinces Ernest to navigate the trash maze and clean up Old Lady Hackmore's house, and then she screams and yells at him that they're not trash. But that's not important, because he is Worrell scum, and woe to you who sees the Worrell. And scares him away.
Yeah, it's Eartha Kitt. She's
amazing.
She is amazing. She's in the opening scene. She's great. She bursts through the door and she has like welding gear on. She's got like this wild wig, and her eyes are always super, super wide. And she has her head cocked back a lot of the time when she's talking as this character. And it's sort of a witchy voice, but not like exactly. And like, you know, she's kind of saying like, you know, you being alive puts everyone's life at risk, man. Get out of here.
I don't remember if it's in this scene or not, but there is a point where, like, I think it is like when she comes out of the house, she just looks at Ernest and gets really close and screams in his face. Not like yells at him, just like screeches like a battle cry at him, and it's amazing.
And she has a big house with a bunch of metal sculptures in front of it that I guess the town is like, oh, that's garbage.
Yeah, but like, it's never really explained why she has those metal sculptures. Like, they're never really a big part of the plot or anything.
She makes them.
I guess they do this kind of crap in 90s movies where it's like, you know, look, this person welds, so, you know what I mean? They do art.
Yeah, dude, there are so many... I wanted to make like a letterbox list or something about this at some point, but there are so many. Like, every artist in a 90s movie is a sculptor, and almost all of them fucking weld shit in a junkyard. Going all the way to, like, the fucking Harry Connick Jr. in The Iron Giant.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a great example.
Yeah. There's in Harriet the Spy, there's this kind of, like, welded garden thing that she goes to, and, you know, the list goes on and on. But I actually think it's just this lazy version of, like, just to show that, like, of all the townspeople, she's, like, she does art, and she's wacky, and people are scared of her house. But, like, it's also, I think, to be, like, she's sort of modern. She's not, like, a witch lady. She does metal sculpting. You know.
It's weird that her and Ernest never connect on that level.
Well, she hates Ernest. Ernest is going to bring the doom to the town. Ernest is the prophesized doombringer.
It's interesting because, like, she's kind of right, but, like, she doesn't, like, she's not, like, for, like, the Obi-Wan of the piece, you know what I mean? Or the Loomis, rather. She's a little bit more of a Loomis from Halloween. Like, she's, like, I guess also a bit like Loomis. She's kind of hapless, and she doesn't come at it the best way for the person who has, like, all the knowledge.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, she's also, like, in the parlance of Cabin in the Woods, she's the harbinger.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. She's the prophecy person. The prophecy of doom.
I want to say a thing that I said while we were recording it, and I stand by, which is watching Eartha Kitt's performance in this, I believe that she could have done literally any Vincent Price role.
No, I know. It's so funny. It's so true. And she's so good. She's really... I think she was having a ball.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you think Jim Varney was not into it in this, there is no doubt, though, that Eartha Kitt was way into this. She's going ham on this role.
And I actually think the scenes they're in together, he's better.
They're good together. They're really good together.
I was really thinking about it when we were watching it, because there were just some scenes. The first impression scene, after this, when he does his, the roll call, the Ernest roll call, didn't seem like he was having as much fun as he was when he was in the mirror.
I have a theory.
I also have a theory, but you go first.
Go ahead. I got a theory.
Okay, so I think part of the problem with Ernest in this movie is, like, I think Ernest really needs to be low status. And he spends most of this movie either on his own, with Remshot, or interacting with kids that like him and look up to him. And so he's almost always high status unless he's interacting with Eartha Kitt or the mayor.
Yeah, can we just fast forward to the tree, Josh? Like, I mean, like...
Well, hold on. There's important things to talk about. But I also want to... Okay. I had a theory for Eartha Kitt specifically. So, Eartha Kitt famously voiced Yzma in The Emperor's New Groove. And that was way later. But... the movie rules, by the way. But I think when she was doing the voice of Yzma, she definitely channeled this character from Ernest Scared Stupid, because you could totally hear it in the way she talked, and the way she acted, and the way she looked. You know?
When I do...
You know what I mean?
When I do Yzma, I try. What I'm really doing, I'm reconjuring Lady Hackmore from my 1991 film, A Scared Stupid.
That's a really good impression.
That is a really good impression. And also, like, to get into character, she'd be like, "Get out of here, Worrell!"
Oh yeah, before doing her Ernest New Groove, she'd accidentally... Emperor's New Groove, rather. She'd accidentally call the Emperor Ernest from time to time and apologize. Sorry, Lady Hackmore's coming back over me again. I can't help it. She's too strong.
So many voices in me.
She's too strong. She's coming back. She's angry about her sister.
All right, so we're getting to the tree, and
well, the kids have like they have a treehouse, right. And the Murdochs show up again, and they knock
those damn Murdochs.
But they don't have a treeho's. It's like a shed.
No,
yeah,
no,
it's a little playhouse.
It's like a cardboard haunted house that they've built. It's so weird.
Yeah,
and the bullies rightfully destroy it.
I'm so sorry. I've long been known as like I'm pro bullying. I think it makes you stronger, and I do
podcast.
feel like those kids were asking for it. Absolutely. They know they have enemies. That thing was so easy to knock over. I can't imagine a version of me at 11 years old who comes across that thing and doesn't try to smash it.
Good to know. So the kids are upset, and they go to complain to Ernest, their best friend, about this happening. And then Ernest talks about the Ottoman Empire, and then they don't know what the hell he's talking about. And then he explains the Ottoman Empire in the weirdest scene in this movie.
No, he explains how they were defeated.
Yeah, but let's talk about this scene.
This is, so I made a joke before in the last episode where I was like, oh yeah, Ernest does his Mad TV audition tape. Man, he really does his Mad TV audition tape in this episode, in this movie.
Yeah. Oh man. So as he's explaining the Ottoman Empire, he first dresses up like it's not even like a dress up thing because like when Ernest goes to jail, he actually like actively dresses up as his like grandma / Aunt Nelda or whatever character.
Yeah.
In this, it literally just transitions from Ernest in one costume to Ernest in another costume with nothing in between.
Yeah, so he's doing a bunch of characters. Josh outlined them in his intro.
Yeah, so there was Caesar, Julius Caesar, who's the good guy in the Ottoman Empire, and there's Genghis Khan, who's the bad guy in the Ottoman Empire, and then also, I don't know how they relate to his story, because they just kind of happen, is like a cowboy kind of John Wayne character, the Aunt Nelda / grandma character, and a pilot character. Another unrelated... Is that like a hairdresser? Because I thought it was just like another unrelated aunt character.
She's like a gossipy hairdresser. At one point she sprays the trolls with hairspray.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be a hairdresser. Or like nail salon lady.
A lumberjack and then an army dude. And also a big game hunter.
The most confusing one.
The big game hunter I think is later.
Yeah, I think that doesn't come up until the troll.
Yeah,
he adds more later on during the troll fight.
He had a couple in his back pocket. He didn't give them all to us at once.
They all have different costumes. It's not like when he was doing the impressions to get Nash's voice, where it's Ernest doing a voice. He's just like embodying these different characters rapidly. The entire thing is conveyed through a close-up on Ernest. So I want to know what our interpretation of what this looks like for the other character is.
So I think that's what that kid is seeing.
You think he's seeing the costume changes?
Yeah.
I think he's just seeing Ernest doing voices.
I think...
And we are getting the benefit of seeing the costume.
I think the reason kids like him and get him is because, like, they're talking on the same level. So when he feels like he's embodying something, that's somehow also being communicated to the kids' brains. And I think I think there's absolute evidence in it when the fucking kid makes the... Ooh, excuse me, I'm sorry, guys. When the kid does the John Wayne impression.
So wait, you're thinking it's like a Rugrats thing?
Pardon?
So, in the Rugrats, when the kids like imagine stuff and like the world's all crazy, it's like all in their own head. So you think like Ernest is in the costumes in the kid's head?
Yeah, I think when he's switching characters, boom, 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 the kid's seeing the hair salon lady, the army guy, the grandma guy, like he's seeing it, bing, bang, boom.
But so like, if an adult looked at it though and bore witness to this event, they would just see Ernest doing voices.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I think that's fair. I can get behind that. I mean, that's just like a more fanciful version of my interpretation. So that makes sense.
Yeah, your stuff is dark. I'm very whimsical. Thanks for having me.
So, after talking about the Ottoman Empire and how there's no trees in Botswana for some reason, they somehow translate this to building another tree house for the kids.
I didn't catch that. Foreshadowing his visit to Africa.
Yeah. Well, look, everything he says is wrong.
So, it somehow translates to building a treehouse for the kid. And also, Ernest somehow accidentally destroys the mayor's car. And then also translates to the hairspray lady and asks if you smell fish. And it doesn't make sense. And then they go and pick out a tree.
We all were dumb, like, oh my, flabbergasted by that. All of us were like, that's weird.
There's like, it's one thing if Ernest just said something that was nonsense that we didn't really understand. That's fine. The thing with that is, there's like an interpretation.
No, yeah.
That can't possibly be the real one.
It seems like he's making a pussy joke, which is wild.
It can't be, though. Even if he was, it still wouldn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Scene.
But it's all they left us with. I mean,
it's not the first. It's like it is the first, but it's not the last of this particular character's transgressions. Because out of all of his characters, the hairspray lady / weird aunt is the weirdest.
I don't know. I really definitely think she's like a hair salon lady, buddy. Like, I don't know if there's any kind of like aunt.
He's got an aunt. You're hung up on Nelda being a grandma because I don't know. And so then you have decided she must be an aunt because she's younger.
Yeah.
But she's not.
I don't think there's like, I think there was a definite kind of like cliched sort of thing at this era of like that type of like Janine from Ghostbusters type of gal who works in a nail salon or something like that and is always moving her yap. You know how women be.
Kind of a Peg Bundy character too.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think you keep saying, I just want to establish, stop calling her the aunt character, man, because I don't think she's the aunt.
What were you going to say, Nate?
I think, like, I mean, Zack has made it more clear to me, like, what the archetype is, but first I was like, this one's the most confusing, because the other ones all sort of fit into, like, I get what there's some kind of archetype, or they're built on some sort of impression, and I was like, who is this lady? Why is she here?
That feels like
I kind of
that feels like someone made him do that. Like, not like that specific character, but someone was like, come on, man, we just need one more. And people think it's funny when guys wear dresses. And so he was like, all right, I mean,
we need another lady.
Here's this, I guess. Like, that just, like, this one, you guys think this one, not to compare, like, apples to donuts or whatever, but do you think this one is as much fun as the Murdoch, you shot my brother bit?
No.
Oh, definitely not.
This, like, and again, because of the costume changes and stuff, I really don't want to make this too real, but I thought about how much time he had to put in doing that, because he has to change, go back, they have to get everything set up. Like, he might have spent, like, 5 days shooting that stupid thing. And that's what I mean, where I'm like, I think he's clocking in and out, where it's not that it's... I don't want to go so far as to say joyless. I might have done a couple of times. But it does feel like he's not having as much fun.
I don't think it's as bad as you imagine it to be, because really only a couple of these characters require makeup. Most of them are just a costume. Like, the lumberjack character is just a plaid shirt and a hat. And, like, the army guy and the big game hunter, like, that's just another, he puts on a jacket.
I think he's having fun with those guys, too.
So I think, like, if you filmed all of the Genghis Khan, Aunt Nelda, hairdresser scenes in one day, like in one take, like not one take, but like in one applyment. That's not a word. I didn't want to say appliance, because that is a word that doesn't mean the thing I want it to mean. One application of makeup. If you filmed all those in one application of makeup, then it probably wouldn't have been that bad. It still would have been a fucking hassle to get in and out of the makeup, though.
Yeah, I mean, and, wardrobe, and, it doesn't mean... I don't want to get into the logistics of it too much. I just do think he was having... This isn't like Harrison Ford in Jedi, where it's like, oh man, that guy does not want to be there. This is like, oh man, this guy's probably... He's almost in every scene, too. Like, he's probably...
Yeah.
He's working. And this scene in particular... I didn't find as much fun, and I didn't find it as funny.
No, well, it's also, like, way less... Like, the Nash impressions, you killed my brother, you're the rat who shot my brother thing, is, like, very focused on, like, a single bit, which is, he says, you shot my brother in every impression.
Yeah.
Whereas this was, like, he's just jabbering about Botswana and the Ottoman Empire, and it's, like, a lot of nonsense that, like, really doesn't come to a cohesive punchline.
No.
Well,
but they decide they have to... They decide they have to build on higher ground.
Right, so that's what I was building up to. So it gets worse because he becomes more of a kook. Like, usually we feel like Ernest is like, oh, a likable dumb guy, but he kind of, like, has some sense of normalcy. In this, he just feels like a complete weirdo because he's obsessed with telling the kids, we gotta find a higher ground, and then he goes to pick out a tree, and while he's doing his Ernest thing with the tree, and bird poop and hijinks ensue, when he finds the troll tree, he's like, this is the high ground. And he says it a lot, and it's weird.
Well, okay, two things. One, you reminded me of another argument I had for this being in the failure timeline, which is that Ernest hurts people in this one. Again.
There you go.
Which is the thing that we were talking about with Christmas. And the other thing is, I mean, maybe he's being magically drawn to the tree. There is like a prophecy that he will release the troll.
Hold on, let's go.
Which is my favorite Daft Punk song.
Yeah, that's great. But let's go back a second because I'm a little lost. How does he, like, on purpose hurt people in this movie?
Not on purpose. I'm just saying he does. I mean, he traps the bullies inside of the garbage can. There's another one.
Oh yeah,
that happens earlier on in the movie that I don't remember what it was specifically. Like when he's like goofing around with the garbage truck, somebody else gets hurt at some point, I think.
Mm. Okay.
I'll tell you what, if I came outside and my trash can was like filled with water and there was this broken mop inside of it, I'd be pissed. And so at least 5 people.
I would be confused.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if I lived in the town with Ernest, I might not be confused. I might be like, oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
Worrell!
So there's a couple things that happen in this tree picking scene, like a couple Ernest-isms that I picked out because I thought they were really funny. There's a point where he talks about how there's like no poison ivy in the woods, and the worst thing that can happen to them is Dutch elm, but none of them is Dutch, so they're fine. And then when they find the tree, they're like looking for a tree with some good bark, and the bark always grows on the outside of the tree.
Well, no, he's saying if you ever get lost, remember that the bark always grows on the outside of the tree.
Which is not helpful.
Yeah, well, that was very Goes to Camp, like, which was fun, I guess. But yeah, like, it's another sequence of him, like, walking around the woods lecturing children, but nothing he says makes any sense or is helpful.
Right. And then they start to build a treehouse with a lot of crazy Ernest stuff. And they use drones to get things up there.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
They invent drones.
Yeah.
Ernest invents drones, which is another reason why this is the dark timeline. Ernest contributes to the military-industrial complex.
And when they start working the treehouse, there's this, like, cheesy graphic of a ghost that pops out at the bottom of the tree. And then Trantor starts to stir.
Trantor is the troll, just so we're clear. I know I name dropped him at one point, but I want everyone... If you didn't watch the film, I want you to know that Trantor is the troll. Mm-hmm. Fun fact about the trolls in this, the makeup effects were done by the Chiodo brothers, who are also responsible for the Killer Clowns from Mars.
Didn't know that. That's cool. I like the makeup for the troll in this movie.
I think knowing that these dudes also did Killer Clowns from Mars, like, once you see all the trolls, like, it makes perfect sense.
Oh, yeah, actually, that makes a lot of sense. Because there's some trolls that just look insane.
Yeah, there's like a very like big, like a not big, like a Big Daddy Roth, Rat Fink sort of like exaggerated monster aesthetic going on with the trolls. Not so much with Trantor. He's kind of his own thing. He does kind of look like if Danny DeVito was in Guar.
Yeah, it's very gory.
So at this point, the kid group consists of Kenny, Elizabeth, and Glasses Kid Joey, who's just kind of there. And then the Murdochs, the bullies, show up and throw rocks at the
Joey's
tree.
not just kind of there. He also has an accent.
Does he have an accent?
He does. But I can't tell if it's the kid acting or if he had an accent. Because he was only...
What kind of accent?
It was like Southern. It was like... It would make sense for Missouri.
Nobody has a Southern accent except for the mayor and Ernest.
And apparently Joey.
Yeah. But I think Missouri is kind of a specific patois because it's like sort of in the middle. So that holds water. They filmed these things in Tennessee, so...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the bullies show up. They start throwing rocks at the treehouse because they're bullies, and somehow they found the treehouse. I guess they were just like walking around and just stumbled onto the tracks of the kid. And then Ernest installed catapults and pizza flingers and cat food dispensers that the kids used to just totally clown on the bullies.
Yeah, there's like they built like an exoskeleton. It looked like to throw pizzas full.
Yeah,
pizzas.
they get in the power lifter from Aliens, and then it's just like, get away from her, you bitch! And he throws a whole pizza at him.
Yeah, they throw like 3 whole pizzas at him.
Whole pizzas.
Yeah, a lot of pizzas and a lot of cat food.
Whole pizzas, just hanging out in the woods with 3 whole pizzas.
Yeah, that they're not going to eat. Okay, so here's the thing. Those pizzas are garbage pizzas, yes? That Ernest got out of the garbage?
Oh.
But they're whole garbage pizzas. Right? Like, who throws away a whole fucking pizza?
Like, there's old pizzas? Like, they didn't sell these pizzas?
Maybe.
There's only like 40 people in the town, so they might make more pizza than they sell.
Maybe there's an eccentric millionaire in town who doesn't, like, know how things work. So he's like, I'm hungry. How much do I eat? Oh, I don't know. Send over 50 pizzas. And, like, Ernest would know about that guy. So he's like...
And he's like, why do I always order 40 more pizzas than I need?
Oh, darn it. Who cares?
Throw them in the garbage. Take these pizzas from my sight.
I'm the richest man in Briarville. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, so, whole pizzas, cat food. The bullies they run away.
Yeah, and then...
How do you feel about these bullies? I don't think these are... I consider myself a little bit of a connoisseur of movie bullies. And, like, these guys are okay, but I feel like they could have really kicked it up a notch.
I have a note that says the Murdoch kids suck at acting.
They're not great. They don't give a single wedgie.
No, they...
Or really do much else besides throw rocks. And then at one point, they dress up as a troll to scare a kid.
Yeah, the Murdochs themselves are just like... They're like the standard, like, oh... There's this antagonist for the kids that has to destroy whatever the kids are trying to do, sort of thing. But there's no flavor or originality to these characters. They're just kind of like cookie cutter bullies.
How do they stack up to your old coworkers, Bulk and Skull?
They don't stack up to Bulk and Skull because Bulk and Skull are great and they're awesome. And I hope they're not listening to this podcast.
They're my high water mark for fictional bullies, I think.
Don't worry about it, Josh. Podcasts don't come to Angel Grove. They don't have them.
No, it's still like 1994 there.
It's always 1994. Did you guys hear, actually, like, yeah, I'm sure Josh already knows, but Nate, they finally tied the knot.
Bulk and Skull?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. They got a nice house in the valley. They got a couple of little dogs. They're doing great.
It would be annoying, though, to visit them, and then it's the whole time you're there, you just hear...
Bulk still makes Skull laugh with, like, everything he says. It's always
okay, all right. Let's not bring up more traumatizations for Josh and move forward with this movie. Where
do a really good... you know what? That's fine. I was going to do my Skull laugh, but whatever.
Moving on, for my own sake and sanity.
So, right after they build the treehouse, doesn't Miss Hackmore yell at them?
Yes.
Yes. So she yells at them, and then
She
leaves.
Is that before or after the bullies come? Like, are they?
That's
like,
after.
I thought
After she shows up,
okay.
and Ernest goes off to talk to her on his own, and then off screen she tells him the incantation to release the troll. Then he comes back to the treehouse. This might be during the bully attack he leaves. I don't remember. He comes back to the treehouse and talks to the kids, and they're like, Ernest, we should get out of here. It's spooky. And Ernest is like, it's not. Like, all she said was, I gotta put my hand on here, and I say this thing, and it releases the troll, and then he accidentally releases the troll.
Yeah, he releases the troll by expositioning.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also not an accident. He just doesn't believe it would happen, which, incidentally, is exactly what happens in Hocus Pocus. But
I think that Lady Hackmore is pretending to hate Ernest to manipulate him into releasing the troll, so that Ernest can then defeat the troll.
Yeah.
And she can get what she wants.
That makes a lot of sense.
I think she believes in him throughout the whole movie.
That's the only reason why she would tell him exactly what to say. That makes so much sense.
It does. So Ernest encounters the troll first with Rimshot. He encounters Trantor, specifically. This is the main troll. And the first thing he says is...
Right after he says the incantation, the kids run away because the tree's, like, shaking like crazy and stuff. But he stays, and he's shaking and stuff, and Trantor comes out.
Yeah, and the first thing he says, I hope you're a Keebler.
No, he says, hold on. You're close.
He says 9/11 was an inside job.
I hope you're from Keebler.
Mm.
I wrote that down because I liked it, and it's my last note.
It's interesting how the kid just kind of abandoned Ernest to his fate.
Well, they're kids. They're scary.
Yeah, it's scary.
Ernest is an adult. He can handle himself. I mean, in their eyes.
Well,
in their minds.
according
Josh
to
is
Ernest,
like, boy, it's messed up how those kids are, like, totally leaving that adult man who just released an ancient being from a tree alone to fight it.
Hold on,
Classy
hang on,
move,
hang
kids.
on. We're talking about Ernest. Is this an adult man?
He is to them.
Yeah. He knows how to build awesome tree houses and drive garbage trucks.
He apparently knows Tai Chi, Kung Fu, and other stuff that he just rambled off. So I guess he's fine. And then he accidentally spills milk in a cooler.
Sort of run away?
No, he actually spills milk in a cooler. And then the troll runs away.
Those kids have so much food in that treehouse.
Mm-hmm.
So much of this movie is dancing around Ernest learning that the troll is weak to milk.
Yeah, which I guess is, now that I'm thinking about it, they probably thought was funnier than it ends up being, because I didn't really catch it until the book thing later on. I sort of missed it when the milk spilled. Because I just remember thinking, I truly remember thinking, that must have been more ammunition, because there's like milk and some apples in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Or it's Ernest's weird lunch of 5 milk containers.
So after that, he goes to the sheriff's house and tries to tell him about the troll, and the sheriff treats him like a kid, because, you know, Ernest. And then...
There's kind of a...
Go ahead.
There's kind of a boy who cried wolf thing in this movie, too, where no one except for the kids believe Ernest immediately when he starts talking about the troll.
Well,
and it's implied that he's done weird stuff like this before.
Yeah, there's a scene later on where Ernest is, like, running through the town with a megaphone trying to warn people of the trolls. And regular townsfolk are like, oh, that's Ernest, doing his thing again. What's he yelling about this time?
Yeah. It's just like the time he said that he met Santa Claus and helped save Christmas.
I did. When I was in Orlando, I met the next Santa Claus. There's 2 of them.
You didn't go to Orlando, Ernest.
I did. Last summer.
And then he ends up going to the old lady Hackmore house to get help, where she reveals that he is the 7th son of the 7th son, the baby, the boy, the great redneck hope.
I knew you.
Yeah, she gives him a pep talk to fight the troll.
I knew you'd like that, Josh.
I love it. I especially love it because I'm not sure if it implies that Ernest has 7 brothers or sisters.
We learn basically nothing about Ernest's family except for that reverend that he's descended from. No other Worrells show up in this movie, and it's implied. She calls him the seventh son of his seventh son, but I think at one point they also call him the last Worrell.
So he had
can't be because he has a twin
family,
brother.
and they're all dead.
Maybe that's... You remember when Santa Claus in Saves Christmas said he lost track of Ernest when he was 11?
Maybe he lost track of Ernest because he ended up accidentally following Ernest's evil twin brother Nash and got confused.
Maybe, dude. That's actually like the best explanation we've come up with so far. Why? I don't know why he would only pick up on that when Ernest was 11.
It's clearly what happened. We've cracked it.
But I want to talk about "you're the baby, you're the boy," which is the thing she says.
I'm so sorry. Oh.
No, I know, it's the best.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
And he's like, she gives him this pep talk is very. All their scenes together are very good, and that scene's real funny because she gives him that insane pep talk, and he's like, "Yeah, I am." Like it works on him.
Next time, if I'm ever around either of you guys and I'm trying to motivate you to do something, I'm going to say, "You're the baby, you're the boy."
You better. So this actually leads to...
Are we getting to the greatest transgression in this film?
Yes, so this leads to the greatest transgression
heart.
in this film, the betrayal scene of all, where Ernest, after receiving this pep talk, this wonderful, amazing pep talk, has to go buy gear to gear up and fight the trolls. And let's go over to Nate to introduce to us who he buys the gear from. Nate?
So he goes to buy the gear from two gentlemen who are working in close concert, a skinny guy and a larger guy. They do a bunch of bits together. Who is it? Of course, it's our old friends, Bobby and Tom. No, not Chuck. He's not even played by Gaylord Sartain. It's a completely different guy that, as far as I can tell, we haven't seen before. Gaylord Sartain's not in this movie at all.
So, okay. All right, we gotta do the math on this one. So, if those guys did not work at the... Okay, so following my theory, those guys did not work at the prison, but they did work at the airport.
Well, actually...
So, what must have happened is, Bobby's also from Briarville. And having probably, gone insane, having encountered both reindeer and presumably the Easter Bunny, he decided to go home, back to his roots. Maybe Bobby's how they knew Ernest. No, because they don't really interact that much with Ernest. So, yeah. So, because is this Chuck Bobby's brother? He's not, right? He's not saying we're brothers.
No, they're brothers in Goes to Jail.
Right, they're not.
I know they're brothers in Goes to Jail. I'm saying, are they brothers in this?
They are brothers in this. They're the Tulip brothers in this.
Okay, so then there's three brothers, and one of them, this Chuck guy, murdered his one brother. Or Bobby accidentally shot him.
Well, that's probably the most likely.
But the thing is, I don't think this Ernest went to jail. So I don't cotton to that.
It's possible that... Okay, so like the Goes to Jail and Saves Christmas are different timelines. So Chuck and Bobby in one timeline are bank security guys who are friends with Ernest. And in another timeline, they're customs agents that don't really know Ernest. If we establish that they just have a third brother who is Tom, then, maybe Bobby moved home and Chuck just stayed in Florida.
Yeah.
Guys, there's a clear answer.
Still sad.
And it's been staring you in the face this whole time. Because when Ernest goes to camp, there is Gaylord Sartain playing the chef, and Bill Bergey's not there. There's no Bobby. There's another guy.
Right.
Okay, so in Success... Wait. But this still doesn't make sense because they're still together in... My placement of the timeline puts this after Saves Christmas, where they're together and they're working at the airport.
Well, also, we may establish... I jokingly, said that as, a clear reveal that didn't work. But we established that, when Ernest sees two dudes, he just sees these two dudes. Who's to say this isn't Tom just, is Chuck, but Ernest is squinting. Who knows?
Okay, here's my interpretation. The rule remains that Ernest sees the two dudes as Chuck and Bobby, no matter what. The problem here is that while Bobby Tulip, or whatever his name actually is, does not have a strong enough personality to override Ernest's Chuck and Bobby filter, Tom Tulip does have a strong enough personality that he overrides the filter. So he just sees the one guy as Bobby, and the other guy who he would see as Chuck, he sees as the guy he normally is, because he's just such a forceful personality.
Got it. I'm on board.
So instead of Gaylord Sartain, Tom is played by John Cadenhead, who I assume they literally just hired because he looks exactly or close to Gaylord Sartain. And the Tulip brothers are like these crazy TV salesmen that sell apparently everything, but also have a lot of merchandise designed specifically for trolls. That seems crazy.
They come from the Troll Town.
Yeah,
okay.
They come from the Troll Town. Again, Salem, witches, Briarville, trolls.
True.
I mean, the troll thing is known history, because she's doing the report on it. So presumably at some times of the year, they get like troll hunters coming into town, and they stock up on gear at the Tulip Brothers shop. And maybe one day, when Ernest was 11, something with those troll hunters went tragically wrong. Maybe they learned about a prophecy involving the worlds, and they acted a little too harshly on it.
Okay, all right, hold on.
But this guy's also doing like that bad guy from the first Muppet movie business. He's like this foghorn leghorn salesman character.
Yeah, for sure.
He's the other person that has a southern accent in this.
Yeah, but he's got like the southern accent. I mean, he's fine. I think I like Gaylord Sartain better.
Yeah, I think I do too.
I think there's something a little bit more like I don't know.
He's also not the only bit in this. Like, Bobby doesn't really have a bit. He's like mostly silent. He still talks. He plays the drums at one point. He's really just Tom's lackey, and Tom has the whole bit, which is he's like a sleazy Southern huckster.
Yeah, right. He never looks at the camera and says he's polarized.
No, never. He also doesn't dance at any point.
Get that out. He's polarized.
He's polarized.
We could have used that, because that would have been a great, during like the Ernest fight with the troll, if he looked at him and he said something like that.
So they sell him a bunch of troll stuff, no troll strips, troll love songs, anything related to trolls. And then Ernest asks if any of this stuff works, and they answer and reply, word for word, do rattlesnakes kiss carefully? Perfect.
So do they?
Nailed it.
I mean, I don't think they kiss. They don't have lips.
Right.
Also, if you saw a rattlesnake with lips, that would be really weird. It would freak me out.
So this leads up to Ernest going back to the Hackmore house and using all this stuff to gear himself up like the Terminator. But we kind of skipped over something. Maybe we talked about it a little bit, but we didn't really go over how Joey, the kid with the accent that isn't really important, gets turned into a wooden statue in between this and them fleeing the treehouse.
Is this when the troll uses his predator powers?
Yeah.
Yes. So Joey falls in a ditch because he's the loser kid with glasses, and he's like screaming and tries to like get out, and then the troll Trantor mimics Ernest's voice and says that it'll help him, and then he looks up and it's Trantor, and then he gets turned into a wooden statue.
That's scary.
For real though? Yeah, I was about to say that's like actually scary, because it's like, oh, like he trusts Ernest, and the troll is using that against him. I kind of wish. Okay, I'm of two minds, because on one hand, the things that the troll says later are like my favorite parts of this movie, but on the other hand, it would have been really effective if the troll never talked with a voice that wasn't stolen from somebody else.
Yeah,
ooh, that would have been creepy.
I wish he just said the one line with his voice and then the rest of the movie. So yeah, Joey gets turned into a wooden statue, and that's I actually think in a weird way, that's the first time that's established. Like Lady Hackmore, even though it's revealed later she knows about this element, doesn't say. I mean, especially specifically when she sees Ernest. I mean, I know we already decided she probably is puppet mastering all this, but it's interesting that this is the first time we're presented with that, and then after Joey gets turned into wood, the next time we see Lady Hackmore, when Ernest does his troll Terminator bit, which I actually think was pretty funny. She's like, "Oh, he's going to turn children into wooden, tiny little wooden children, and I guess once he gets 5, he can free his friends."
So I wrote down what she says exactly.
Okay, you should have interrupted me then.
First and foremost, when Ernest tells her about the troll, she literally just stomps around the house, just saying horror things. In general, she's like, "Oh, zombies, silver bullets, and blah blah blah." Until she goes over.
Yeah, she does Jay-Z's verse from Monster. A zombie with no conscience.
I wish. That would be amazing. But she goes over and finds this one book that has the sayings. It's the Necronomicon for trolls. And what she reads from it is, "From the innocence of 5, the evil army will arise. One who can stop me if he will dare, with the heart of a child and a mother's care."
Bars.
And apparently that's Ernest.
Yeah.
Sure.
The mother's care turns out to be milk. No. Yes?
Yes, but also, we don't find that out immediately. At a certain point, so Ernest actually goes through a couple things before he goes back to the old
mother's
lady.
care is milk? It's not the "you're so cute" hugging and kissing thing?
Yeah, that's why I said wait.
No, that's child's heart.
No, the heart of the... Yeah, the heart of the child is the unconditional love, and the mother's care is milk.
Whoa.
Right?
Okay.
No,
yeah, there's a scene later on where she sees a kid.
No, we're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
But she does literally say, "The heart of the child."
Okay. Oh man. Okay.
Which is kind of he's polarized of this movie.
It kind of is, but it's also not nearly as satisfying.
No.
No.
But so Ernest goes out and has initial attempts to capture trolls. He builds a troll motel trap with an alarm system
Out of a dumpster.
and ends up falling for his own trap. Where he has a lollipop out to attract the trolls, and then without thinking, he grabs the lollipop and then gets his hand stuck in the dumpster that he set up as a trap. And I think one of the funniest scenes of this movie, where he just looks at his hand, looks at the camera, looks at his hand, looks at the camera, looks at his hand, looks at the camera, and then does the Ernest wah.
He also makes a terrifying thing to use as bait in the troll trap, which is a baby doll covered in fish hooks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that's a horrific image.
He's at his best when he's towing that line between innocent and childlike, and also might be a serial killer.
Yeah, for sure. With the whole voicing the baby doll swearing its revenge thing.
Yeah.
So then he disguises Rimshot as a child for troll bait, and says that Rimshot is an ugly kid but a cute dog.
Yeah, and he puts him in a Lord Poperoy outfit.
Yeah.
No, it's a Boy Scout.
Oh, it's a Boy Scout?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wish it was a little Lord Fauntleroy with the frilled collar and the little hat. That would have been hilarious. Boy Scout's funny too.
Yeah. I'm surprised it wasn't a uniform from camp.
You saw a unbuttoned button-up shirt,
Yeah.
and jeans with a rope.
Yeah. So then Ernest gets plunged by some kind of catapult that he was designing, and his hat comes off, and we don't see where Ernest goes, but his hat's on the ground. And then he has to go get food. I'm not sure why exactly he goes to the convenience store, but he goes to the convenience store and says, "A hungry lion hunts best, but an army runs on its stomach." You know what I mean?
It's also a callback to Goes to Camp.
True.
Where he says that line to avoid he avoids having to eat the eggs erroneous by saying that line.
Can't eat on an empty stomach.
He doesn't do the rabbit thing, though. So he buys a bunch of... Josh! He buys a bunch of food to eat.
Right. but you don't see him eat it. And then...
But why is he buying it?
For the trolls, obviously, as bait.
He says you hunt better with food in your stomach. Why would he say that? Go buy food. He's buying it to eat it, Josh.
Well, we don't see it happen, so I assume it doesn't happen.
You know how many movies I've seen where the characters don't eat anything? I can't think of one scene in Die Hard where he eats. Are you telling me John McClane doesn't eat? Oh, does he smoke cigarettes?
No body, no crime. If you don't see them eat, they don't eat.
Okay, so 2 things. I will say, one, in Josh's defense, there are like 10 Ernest movies, so if he never eats in any of them, that's kind of crazy. Like, you would think like, there'd be at least one scene where he eats in 10 movies, even if people, like... Now, the other point, Josh and I literally just had a conversation very recently about this, where we were talking about how in a lot of American movies are very reluctant to show people actually eat food, like put it in their mouth and eat it, unless they're Brad Pitt.
Classically trained actors are trained not to actually eat. Like, you're supposed to act eating. You're not supposed to actually eat.
Hold on, Zach. Hold on, Zach. Let him finish.
No, that's all I was... I didn't really have anything
else
to say.
I thought you were going to bring up the Eastern part, where we're talking about, classically trained Eastern actors that eat everything.
Yeah, and Eastern movies are way more, like, Japanese movies, Chinese movies and stuff, they're way more willing to show people just eat food for real. I don't know what the cultural divide is there. I mean, maybe...
I'm telling you, there's this thing in Western acting where it's like, yeah, anyone can just eat. Like, you have to act eating. And, I mean, it's not like, I don't know if everyone... It's definitely an old way of thinking. But I guarantee you Jim Varney was trained in,
He's classically trained? I mean, probably.
I know that he was. I looked it up. He also smoked, like, a chimney and, unfortunately got cancer, and then became really pro, like, towards the end of his life, he did a lot of, like, getting kids not to smoke stuff and stuff like that. He was really active and that kind of thing, which is cool because he kind of took his, like, he knew his audience were kids, and it meant something to him to try to, like, hey, don't smoke, it's not cool. And, it's pretty cool.
Do you guys remember when Danny DeVito did that play where he ate an egg on stage every night?
Yeah, totally.
So when Ernest is at the convenience store, it transitions to another really weird choice scene in this movie where he is having a conversation with the clerk, who's Jimmy the clerk, and Jimmy sees the troll in the background and has a heart attack? I'm not quite sure. Yeah,
Jimmy's pretty funny. But Ernest,
he pulls out a shotgun.
Ernest is pretty funny too. I actually thought this was pretty. I enjoyed this of Ernest being like, "What's going on with you, man?" Like, Ernest is kind of the straight man in that scene, and he's very funny, being like, "Hey, man, like, if that's too much money, like, or whatever, like, it's
like
really
Jimmy
good."
Pulls out a shotgun on Ernest, but he can't say why, and Ernest is so confused and like hurt, and he's like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
Yeah, like, the lead up to that is he's, like, choking, and Ernest is doing, like, we're doing charades thing. He's trying to decipher what this dude's wordless message is, and then the punchline is he just whips out a shotgun.
It's funny. But yeah, the troll Tranctor is there. What's his name? I'm sorry.
Trantor. Yeah, so then that ends up with him having a quarrel with Ernest, and then...
having a Worrell with Ernest.
Later on...
Worrell Wars.
The troll traps for Ernest get sprung, and he accidentally captures the Murdochs, who were dressing up as trolls.
Goddamn Murdochs are in there.
to scare the kids. So he brings, like, the traps to the mayor or the sheriff. No, he brings it to the sheriff.
The Murdochs?
One of them gets trapped, and the other one hides in a boat and scares Kenny.
The Murdochs are, like... They're so, like, they're both, like, so chubby and pale. And when the shot of them in the troll trap was, like, so, like, I don't know. All I could think was, it probably just smells like little kid pee and ketchup in that thing.
Ew.
Like, those kids, like...
But it's framed like a shot from The Thing.
Yeah.
When they release him from the troll trap. Like, there's all this, like, dramatic lighting behind him and, like, around the edge of the opening of the dumpster.
Well, doesn't it take the mayor
comes out, like, in silhouette?
Doesn't he take the mayor and the sheriff there to be like, I did it?
Yeah. So he does that, and then he releases the trolls but they're the Murdochs. And then the Murdochs are the kids of the mayor, so the mayor fires him. And then Ernest gets real sad.
Worrell!
Is this, man, the timeline is unraveling. Not the greater Ernest timeline, but the timeline of this movie is unraveling in my mind. When does this is before he has the big fight with the troll?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first big fight with the troll?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, like...
We are not there yet.
So what happens?
My brain's mush.
What happens next, though? So after the encounter in the supermarket, what happens?
So Ernest had just gotten fired because he brought the troll traps to the sheriff and the mayor and released the Murdochs, those damn Murdochs. And there's a scene where he kind of hits rock bottom, where he talks about being a failure and he's got nothing left to live for. He's the bottom of the gene pool. And he's like, this whole like scene of him kind of giving up, where Rimshot like bites him and like comforts him and tells him not, like in Ernest's mind, tells him not to be a quitter. And then
can we talk about Rimshot briefly here?
Yeah, but let me just finish this real quick by saying we get an insight into young Ernest, where we have a weird.
It's a fucking Family Guy cutaway.
Yeah, we were a weird flashback. His teacher from like grade school telling us that Ernest never knew when to quit, while Ernest is writing like some sort of like punishment on the blackboard, and it's clearly like a small kid with the Ernest hat and vest.
Mm-hmm. And it says
we don't see his face.
He's writing, "I never know when to quit."
Yeah. He never knew when
She's
to
like
quit.
Exasperated. Yeah, that happens twice. It's like the only thing like that in this movie. It is like a Family Guy cutaway gag. I don't get it. Why is that here?
I don't know.
It's trying to do too much. It's because like it's a studio note scene because it's been too scary, so they put in like an easy thing that you can shoot afterwards, and you know.
You're probably right. I want to talk about Rimshot briefly. We're all very pro Rimshot on this podcast. I believe, Josh, in the last episode, you said that you would violate the Geneva Convention for Rimshot if you had to.
No, that was you.
And I don't know if I would go that far.
That was 100% you.
I mostly agree. So Rimshot's in this. He's great. One of the things that I really like about Rimshot in this movie in particular is it's very easy to interpret him as hating Ernest and to be actively trying to kill him.
No, I think you're wrong because he stops Ernest from killing himself. Because Ernest was clearly about to kill himself.
But he does it by biting him.
Maybe you think he's trying to get Ernest to recognize that he hates him. Yeah, and your dog hates you too.
I'm saying that, like, I do think that Ernest and Rimshot love each other because we have established they're connected across the multiverse. But I'm just saying I think it's funny that pretty much every scene with Rimshot you can interpret him as being against Ernest.
I think what you're getting at, Nate, is that because I don't think Rimshot put Ernest in the dumpster Star Wars trap on purpose. I think Rimshot's just the Ernest of dogs, and just ends up doing dumb things.
Sure. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think that's where the beauty of Rimshot is. He's a little bit of an enigma. Is Rimshot as dumb as Ernest? Does Rimshot love Ernest? Is Rimshot smarter than Ernest? Is Rimshot malicious? He could be anything, you know? I think, like, a lot of the appeal of Rimshot is it's very similar to, like, why people like the Joker, you know?
God, you know, you always are talking about this. This is the only other thing. He would have me watch Ernest Scared Stupid, and every now and then he'd start talking about the parallels between Rimshot and the Joker.
So, Ernest ends up going back towards the tree to try again, and he finds what he calls brain barnacles from the planet Typor.
Yeah, they're like...
What was that joke?
I mean, it's just because they look like fucking alien, like from an old sci-fi movie. He's just referencing an old movie.
And then he just, like, you know, ends up calling them Brussels sprouts later on.
That's a funnier joke.
I like it is a funnier joke. I like the effects on these pods because I think they have like real live slugs coming in and out of them.
Yeah, looks really scary.
Yeah, they're real goopy and ooey and gooey, and Josh knows all about that.
True.
One day, Josh, you'll share with me the secret of the ooze.
Oh my god, you worked on Ninja Turtles?
Once you're ready. Once you're ready, I'll share with you all the secrets of the ooze.
Tell me about Ernie Reyes Jr.
You're not ready.
Was he nice on set?
You're not ready for the ways of Ernie Ray Jr.
He was in The Secret of the Ooze.
So is Kevin Nash.
Did you work with Vanilla Ice?
So Ernest talks about his hatred for Brussels sprouts, and in doing so, the troll's like chasing him down, train towards like nearby, and there's this comedic moment of him accidentally getting bonked by the truck door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Rimshot hits him with the car door. So he goes there, and the troll's not there, and then as he's leaving, the troll ambushes him in the truck.
Right.
I had that realization when you started talking about it, and I was like, oh, I actually do remember the order things happen now. And I remembered that that's the sequence of events, and I felt like I had reclaimed some measure of control over my life.
This movie is all over the place, man. I don't blame you.
But like when does Elizabeth get? Is it after the truck thing?
It's after the truck thing, I believe.
Okay. Let's keep talking about the truck thing then. Because I guess what's interesting about this scene is that it's revealed that Rimshot could drive the truck.
You're spoiling it,
this
dude.
This is the wildest scene in the movie.
Spoil it? What do you mean? We're here.
Building up.
Ernest is driving a different truck in this sequence, not the garbage truck. This is just like a flatbed truck that he's driving. It has a bunch of barrels on the back of it. And the troll, like, you know, it's that classic, like, horror movie thing where, like, the monster just, like, splats onto the windshield all of a sudden and blocks off his view.
Yeah, it's kind of a jump scare moment.
Then he starts stabbing a sword through the top
he's got
of the truck.
Scabbard.
I'm sorry, stabbing a what?
A scimitar?
Yeah, scimitar.
Yeah, he's got a curved sword. He's stabbing it through... Initially, he's stabbing it through the top of the truck cab to try and kill Ernest and his dog. And then Ernest is like, Rimshot, to drive. And then he climbs out to the back of the truck to have a one-on-one fight with the troll on top of a speeding truck that's being driven by Rimshot.
Because, alright, first he jumps on the hood. And
well,
then
there's something even before that, guys.
What's before that?
So Ernest has a radio set, and he's yelling into it, Mayday, Mayday, Christmas Day, Columbus Day, and he's trying to get in touch with Blue Leader, who we find out is the Tulip brothers, who are just doing their thing, setting up a billboard, and not paying Ernest any attention. They're like, yeah, Ernest, we read you. You're getting attacked. You got it, buddy.
They're like tearing down a billboard to put up an identical billboard that's more crinkled.
Yep.
Than the one that's already up.
And Bill Berge falls off of it.
Also, at one point they cut to him and he's driving and he's got like a bag that's like some Tulip Brothers merchandise that has his own face on it over his head. Which is a weird visual, but that happens.
Yes.
But yeah, the troll's on top of the truck.
I think before the sword is when he says your line, though. Isn't it, Nate?
No. So he's stabbing on the top of the truck, then he climbs down and tears the door off of the truck and yells at Ernest. It's like, Ernest P. Worrell, you will pay for the sins of your fathers.
Your forefathers.
Your forefathers. That's what it is.
It's so good.
And then Ernest climbs out and they have their one-on-one fight on top of a moving truck being driven by a small dog.
Which goes off like the momentum, I guess, of the truck being driven, because all we see is Rimshot, like leaning over the seat to just be on the wheel and move the wheel with his two front paws.
At one point he gets down to hit the brake pedal, which means, Ernest just slams the gas and then lets Rimshot cruise it out. And so then Ernest is on the back of the truck and the troll he's having a sword fight with the troll, and Ernest is like picking things up to use to defend himself, and the troll is cutting through them with his, presumably magic sword.
Yeah, at one point Ernest picks up like bush cutters, and then the troll keeps slashing at them, and they turn into nunchucks, and then Ernest knocks himself out with his own nunchucks, while confidently saying that I'm going to get you with these nunchucks.
This is weird because he also buys anti-troll nunchucks from the Tulip Brothers earlier in the movie, but doesn't use them.
Yeah, he ends up using gardening shears.
And then Rimshot slams on the brake, which dislodges the troll from the truck, but then traps Ernest inside of a barrel.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah.
But
Ernest is yelling bumper sandwich booger lips up to the troll. And then Rimshot runs over the troll.
Yeah, that was awesome, because they just full on just, like, they have, like, a model of the troll, I guess, and they just full on just whack it with a pickup truck, and it looks really brutal.
Yeah.
All of us went, whoa, what did it happen? Because it was just like, ka-chunk, it's very, like, unforgiving.
And then, the Bobby and Tom show up, and the troll, like, shows up to break their windshield with his troll breath. And the Ernest barrel goes rolling away.
Yeah.
And then we transition to the Ernest barrel showing up at Old Lady Hackmore's house.
Yeah, and she tries to open it with a giant cartoon can opener.
And then Kenny shows up because he accidentally found the cave with the wooden statues. And I also want to say during this time, like, there's been scenes in between what we're talking about where Trantor just, like, kidnaps 2 random children.
And then eventually he gets Elizabeth.
Right. But he just picks up 2 children that we've never seen before as well in between. One who's just rolling by on a skateboard and one who's dressed up as a Indian costume.
So the Elizabeth scene when she gets taken is the scene that terrified me. When I was a child. Yeah, okay. That was the scene.
I'm not surprised. That's what I thought it was going to be.
That was the scene that, like, I actually, for whatever reason, like, I was really enchanted by, like, the treehouse. I'm sorry, I was trying to remember. I loved the treehouse. I thought it looked really cool. I remember telling you guys, like, I really remember it taking place in the treehouse more. And I guess because, you know, it kind of ends around there, but it also must have just been my imagination, like, just going wild with, like, how neat it would be to have a treehouse that looked like that and had all that crap. I didn't remember the food throwing element at all. I just remember it looking really zany and, you know, it's like, it's a set, you know what I mean? So it was like this physical thing. But so anyways, that really captured me right away, and I remember being just really sucked into the movie, and, like, you know, you start identifying with the kids because they kind of, like, look like your friends or whatever, and that scene is so scary because she right away wants her room checked, and, like, she's all alone, and after she looks under her bed and it's safe, it's kind of a jump scare. I remember jumping when I was a kid, of her, like, turning around, and the damn thing is laying on her bed. Not just like, you know, it's up in her business. It's laying on her bed. And I remember my imagination just going wild with that. So, like, you know, to a point where it was like, you know, I didn't want to turn around in my bed. Whatever position I was laying in, I was like, oh boy, I know how this is going to play out. So that's why I didn't want to skate past that scene. Now watching it, it isn't as scary. You know,
but I totally see how you would be.
No, yeah. I don't think, like, you know, I have no shame here. I was a young, you know, but like, so I guess all I'm getting to is, like, you know, it was effective. And later on, when the troll is using Elizabeth's voice in the tube, I remember that too really scaring me. I didn't remember it until we watched it this time. The bed thing I've always remembered, because I do think it gave me nightmares. But when we were watching it this time, I was like, oh my god, I really remember this scene of him, the troll, using Elizabeth's voice to beckon Kenny over to that tube.
Yeah, that is creepy, pretty creepy too. Trantor's got a real flair for their dramatic.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, interesting fact about Trantor, that is in fact Ernest spelled backwards.
Oh yeah. Boy, you know, these guys really put a lot of thought into this stuff. Way more than I realized.
Yeah, there's a lot of
This is some Mr. Mojo magic type of stuff.
Mm-hmm. So the tube thing happens later when Kenny's on his own and the troll tries to get him. But there's this weird subplot romance between Kenny and Elizabeth. So before Elizabeth gets captured... She gives him a peck on the cheek, and he's like, "Whoa, girls." Yeah, and
that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like a little. Yeah, I don't think that's a subplot.
When he
they
walks
have
around.
a moment. Yeah, they have a moment. It's not a subplot.
Right. But it's at this point in the movie where he's getting knocked out of being in a barrel that he finds out about Mick. That trolls can be destroyed with Mick.
Miak.
Well, it's Mick because it's like M-I something K. Because the pages of the journal that he was trying to read from were stuck together for some reason. And then he has to go to warn kids at some kind of weird costume competition / Halloween carnival going on at the high school.
Yeah, where all of the adults are wearing costumes that make no sense. It's just like random bits of costumes. That's what everybody's wearing. There's maybe like 2 adults that have a costume that makes sense, and one of them is a guy who's dressed as a bee and has dyed his mustache yellow.
I think it's perfect. That's the best costume there is.
That bee guy has some other weird complaint that's not related to all the missing children when people are
I'm mad about other stuff.
Yeah.
And
we see that at some point during the movie where I'm not sure if it's before or after the costume competition, where they're all yelling at the sheriff and they're all dressed completely crazy.
Yeah, you know what the bee's the bee guy is like, no one's picked up my trash in weeks.
okay.
I mean, that's just Ernest.
Yeah.
But like the other adults' costumes are like, oh, it's like the pants from like a clown suit, but they're wearing like a striped prisoner outfit and a red wig and vampire teeth.
Yeah, it's a lot of like this was on sale at Kmart after Halloween costume.
Or like pieces of other Halloween costumes from years
Yeah, there
past.
was like some pirates. Josh, do you remember any weird ones?
There's a specific weird one that I want to bring up that is probably a good time to bring up now. So the old lady Hackmore also ends up making her way to the high school child competition, what have you. And on her way there, she encounters a very important scene for this movie of this older adult, like a mother, dressed up as a pizza? Or
we were baffled by this costume.
She had a pizza hat
She's got like
and like pizza on her shirt, and then her face has pepperoni on it. It was very confusing.
She has pizza pauldrons.
I liked it. She was a pizza lady.
Some kind of pizza lady. She's not dressed as a pizza, but she's some sort of pizza.
Her dad was a pizza,
woman.
and her mom was a lady, and they fell in love.
Or she's like a pizza themed superhero.
I don't know.
No,
it is so baffling.
You guys are both stupid. She's a pizza lady.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
I don't want to get...
Her daughter's dressed as like a bear, but the costume is also weird. Because the hole for her face is in like the middle of... It's not in the middle of the bear's face. Like you know, because I say that and you imagine like a regular like bear suit costume. It's like there's a whole bear mascot head, but then like the nose part is cut out. And her face is sticking through it. And also it has a big butt.
It has a really big butt. It looks like a poopy diaper.
Yeah.
It really just does.
So old lady Hackmore is like mumbling to herself and saying, of all the people, why Ernest? And then sees this weird fight where the kid is like pouting and doesn't want to go on stage in her costume. And then the mom is like, well, you have to. And the kid's like, well, you suck. And the mom's like, well, you're not too great either. And then the kid, like, at some point turns around and then says, I love you. And then the mom says, I love you, and they make up. And then that gives old lady Hackmore the idea that unconditional love is the heart of the child.
It is...
But she's staring at them, and then she goes, unconditional love, the heart of a child.
And then just, like, saunters off.
It is shocking. It is a shocking turn. The actors in the costumes are giving this wild kind of like toothpaste commercial performance.
Yeah.
And it's...
Or after school special.
Yeah, it's such a jarring thing to experience. I cannot describe enough how, like, it's such a bizarre movie. It takes so much at that point to be like, whoa, that was pretty weird. But it is so weird.
Well, also because like those are not characters we have seen at any
No!
point in this movie before this. The only character we know is Old Lady Hackmore, who's lurking in the shadows, watching this thing happen.
She's not even looking in the shadows. She's like ostensibly like 6 feet away from them. And then after they have this supposed mother-daughter heartfelt moment, she says, "The heart of a child, yes." It's just like the pizza woman surely would have been like, "Excuse me?"
Right.
Can I also say another weird thing? We'll get to this later, but another weird thing about that scene is she learns this and then deliberately doesn't share it with Ernest.
No, he'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, that's what she's banking on.
He'll get there.
So, the troll ends up destroying things in the costume contest and ends up wooden statuing the bigger, badder Murdoch kid. And then Ernest shows up, rolls up his sleeves, reveals that he knows the troll's weakness, and gives them miak.
Which is like it's like a spice?
Oh, we cruise by the classic bit of like, there's this costume contest and the troll standing next to the Murdoch kid, and the Murdoch kid turns to him and is like, "Your costume, stupid!" Like, you know, going with his brand of everything's dumb and that's my version of bullying. And
What if?
And that's when he turns the Murdoch kid into wood, and it's on stage, so like, you know, all of Briarville is there to see it, and they all know the stories, so everyone freaks out.
Mm-hmm.
What if he had, instead of being a bully, he had turned to Trantor and said, "Your costume's really cool," and that had defeated the troll?
Yeah.
Let me give your costume a hug. It's so cool.
The troll's like,
then
"No."
I'm gonna Care Bear this.
And then the Murdochs would have been the hero.
That's why the Murdochs run this town.
So this leads to Ernest getting blown away by the troll because miak is not the right thing. Who would have thought? And
then,
Josh, did you like that joke?
Oh,
you sound like you like that joke. Do you like that joke?
I do like that joke.
You.
All
right.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like it either. But you know what? Shine on, you crazy diamond.
No, well, the thing is, like, for me personally, I like jokes where there's an obvious answer, and the film like dances around it so much that it like literally goes in a whole circle to get to that point. And when it gets to be like that complicated, that kind of gets me.
Yeah, miak is too long of a walk for me.
I think the joke would have worked better if they could have constructed it in a way where the obviously wrong answer that he lands on is also something that we've already heard of. Like, miak is not a thing that we know as the audience. But if it had been some other thing that was like milk, but clearly not what it was supposed to be, I think
that's what I mean by it's too long of a walk for me. It's asking too much of me.
Because I don't have any reaction to miak.
No,
it's like
I don't know what that
obscure
is.
Thing that like just he pulls out of nowhere. That's like, no, obviously it's not that.
No, I understand. And I'm not saying you're wrong. And all I'm saying is, for me, this didn't work, and here's kind of why. Too long of a walk.
I got you.
Here's what it should have been. Here's my pitch strategy.
Yeah, let's fix this joke.
That they would not have done.
Yeah.
He has the thing is milk, but the I is missing.
The L is missing.
The L is missing.
I thought. Oh, the L is missing. Well, then never mind. Because I was going to say it'd have been funny. We made a joke while we were watching it that it's MLK. And I think it would have been funny if he just had a picture of Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Was trying to kill the troll with it.
Well, that's how you fix it.
That's definitely why it's not MLK. Because it's like, well, that's all we could do, and that's probably not cool after that camp thing that we did.
No. Probably not.
So, Ernest gets blown away and gets shot away into an ice cream stand that's there. And then Rimshot ends up fighting the troll by his own.
No!
And gets wooden
This is the saddest thing
statue.
that's ever happened in any movie. Rimshot protects Ernest with his life. Finally, his character arc is complete. We've established before that Rimshot is loyal to Ernest but wouldn't die for him. But here, he puts his life on the line, and he's reduced to a wooden statue. And it is heartbreaking.
Rimshot doesn't actually save Ernest. What saves Ernest is the ice cream. Because, milk.
I didn't say he saved him. He tries.
Right. But when Ernest is awakened from being covered in ice cream and, getting out of that, he finds out that Rimshot got wooden statued, and it's a very sad scene. And then he says something that I wrote down, which weirdly rhymes. My great-granddaddy put him in a hole, and so can I. Someone with a runny nose is gonna die.
Yeah, he doesn't say it like with the cadence that it sounds like a poem. Like there's spaces in between.
It's hard not to say it.
It doesn't sound like that?
Where it doesn't sound like a poem, just like from my perspective.
Yeah, so we're all heartbroken. Rimshot is a wooden statue.
I was sad
this is
when
the darkest thing that's ever happened in a movie.
I was sad when the children got turned to wood. I didn't need Rimshot to. I was less sad when... I'm not going to lie. That's less stakes for me.
I definitely was... Really? I did not care about the kids as much as I cared about Rimshot.
All right.
I don't want to be one of those people that's always like, it's sadder when an animal dies. But it's just like, Rimshot does more, and he's in the other movie.
Okay.
So I just had more of a connection to him.
Here's the thing. So we're talking about how sad this was for us as viewers. But I went back in time and did some more research on this scene versus...
You went back in time?
We go back in time.
This scene versus the other scene where Ernest is at his rock bottom point, and he seems a lot sadder when he got fired than when Rimshot got turned to wooden statue, because when Rimshot gets turned to wooden statue, he's more determined to go out there and beat that troll instead of just being really upset.
That, though.
And that's fine, but he definitely seems sadder earlier.
No, yeah, it's actually, in retrospect, it is pretty cool. This time it's personal.
I think it's yeah. I don't think he's less sad about Rimshot, but now he is more mad.
Yeah.
He got fired because he was dumb. The troll has hurt him and taken away his only loved one.
His best friend and roommate.
So...
And work partner.
Ernest rushes to get to the treehouse to catch the troll. Meanwhile, lamenting the loss of his dog, even though he says that wooden dogs might swim better. Who knows?
He's got Rimshot on the dashboard.
Yeah. And he rams the troll into the tree, and then the tree starts to shake and the pods start to fall. And they're not supposed to touch the ground. I don't remember when that's established, but Ernest tries to catch them, but he also, every time he catches one, he throws the one that he just caught away. So he's just hastening them falling to the ground without realizing.
Well, he is stopping them from falling to the ground for a little bit before he has to drop them to catch another pod.
This is the only funny business we get out of him, I think, in this movie. Is this pod catching thing.
Yeah.
Well, there's also the part where he's trapped in he's trapped in a barrel, and they're trying to free him with a giant.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's very cartoon.
And then we have a scene that maybe inspired the entire series of Stranger Things happening concurrently, where because of the ice cream thing, even though Kenny wasn't there for the whole MIK thing, he's like, they're weak to milk. And then he rounds up the other kids and they go on bikes to the convenience store and steal a bunch of milk from Jimmy, the poor clerk.
Oh no, this is a big 90s kids movie thing. It's the kids ride their bikes somewhere to gear up to do, something like this.
The thing that makes it really 90s is that in addition to getting the milk, they get a bunch of super
Hell
soakers
yeah.
as a milk dispersal implement.
Yeah, and actually we're kind of also scooting over that Murdoch number 2 is dressed as Dracula with a widow's peak and stuff, and and he comes up to Kenny with his crew, and he's they make them, they make up or whatever. There's never really been.
They call it.
Yeah, it's not really clear what the problem is between him and the other group, because Kenny and his friends don't seem nerdy or whatever. But I guess since his brother is ostensibly dead, he's hey man, how do we fight these trolls? And Kenny's let's go steal the milk from that shopkeeper who likes to pull his shotgun on things.
Yeah, great idea, kids.
Yeah. He doesn't pull his shotgun on the kids. They got no time though. That's why they ride their bikes to the shop, and they don't have time to explain. We're kids, we don't have money, but we need all the milk.
Yeah, they don't even have time to logically know why milk is the answer.
We need
your
milk
and all your milk.
We need all your milk and your super soakers, and don't ask no questions, alright?
But the thing is, Jimmy is so afraid of the troll, they probably could have just been we need all the milk to fight the troll. And he would have been You got it. Do you want my shotgun?
Then, as Ernest is, dealing with this, the trolls start growing out of the ground, and this is where you see the influence from crazy clowns from outer space, because the trolls,
killer clowns from Mars,
whatever, the tomatoes that are also clowns that are from Mars, where the trolls, like, they all look weird. Like, one is covered in nails, which is, I guess, a reference to Pinhead. There's like a conehead one. There's like a lady one. There's one with a pirate hat. It's very weird.
Yeah. There's like an army one with like an exaggerated like buzz cut guile haircut.
And then the townsfolk also show up, and troll attack them. They end up bending the mayor's shotgun, and Ernest says something weird, which I guess makes sense in context, but it still just feels out of place. Where he's like, "Oh no, they're gonna blame all this on me."
Well, they blamed lots of things on him. I get it.
It just seems like out of priority,
I mean, I think that's the joke.
And then the lead troll, Trantor, is like, "Bring me the head of Ernest P. Worrell."
Yeah, and then he starts doing like a satanic ritual under the tree while the other trolls are fighting the townsfolk and Ernest.
Yep, and then Ernest does two specific things when he's cornered by a camera, which is also the troll. Where, one, he does a bowling bit, where he narrates to the camera that he's a master bowler, and is going to get a trophy and bowl the trolls away. And then it also cuts to the classroom again, saying that Ernest never learned when to quit, for some reason. And then, like, there's a later thing where, like, the camera again catches up to Ernest, and he's trying to run away, where he defaults to being a salesman. There's, like, a reference to, like, him, like, being that commercial guy, where he's, like, trying to sell the trolls something and trick them.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Scooby-Doo bit, like where they'll run from the monster and then pretend to be like a barber shop or something. Mm-hmm. It's kind of that thing.
It just felt self-referential with what we know about Ernest.
Sure. So there's like a long fight with all the trolls. The kids show up and they start using the milk. Ernest and Kenny team up. There's also one particularly crazy part where the sheriff tries to shoot one of the trolls and they steal his gun and eat the bullets. And then another troll starts hitting the troll that ate the bullets on the back of the head with a 2x4, which causes the bullets to fire out of the troll's mouth. Also, they handcuff the sheriff to his car while this is happening, and they're just shooting bullets at him, like, around him. It's fucking wild.
No, it's very wild. It feels very Ghoulies.
Yes.
And then when the kids arrive with the milk guns and shoot milk at the trolls and also use a milk carton as a grenade at one point, the trolls dissolve into a really, like, disgusting pile of bones and meat.
Yeah, they leave behind, like, gore. It's almost like in a video game. Like, when you kill a bad guy and they just, like, gib. Like, when you kill somebody in Doom and they just turn into, like, 8 rib cages. It's like that.
It felt so out of place for, like, a children's movie. Where it's like, you look down and it's like, oh, Jesus.
I don't know, because of all the food stuff earlier, like, they were really throwing food at those little Murdoch kid actors. Like this movie, like, or the ice cream on his face and stuff, and, like, how goopy all the trolls are and stuff. This movie, like, is, like, living in that, like, 90s kids like gross things world. So I actually don't think it's that out of place.
I think the only thing, like, I don't think it's that out of place either. The only thing that makes it feel a little bit out of place to me is that it's just more red than I expected it to be.
Yeah. But I could...
which makes it feel a little more real than you would imagine. It's still very doofy.
I could see I don't think it's special effects nerd being, like, a real stickler for that. And, like, it's never... They always make it green and stuff. Like, my stuff's red, alright? Kids will get it. They'll be fine.
But I think they get away with it because the trolls are, like... They come out of plant pods.
Yeah.
Like, they're not fauna. So, whatever. They turn into red goo, but... Whoa, it's not blood. It can't be blood. They're plants.
Yeah.
But there's, like, clearly bones sticking out of those piles, and it's real weird.
I don't know. It's very, like, on par for what we've seen. I thought. I don't know. I didn't find... I found the scene between the teddy bear mom and the pizza woman far more jarring.
Fair enough. So this devolves into a kind of a reverse of the earlier scene where the kids were, catapulting and throwing stuff at the bullies, where Ernest learns that milk is a weakness from Kenny, spits milk at the troll, it dissolves, And then Ernest transforms into all of his characters to get the trolls, using a yogurt catapult and like a drone as like a doomsday dropper.
Yeah, he adds in a fighter pilot character in this sequence. And I think this is when the big game hunter shows up too.
Is this like? Do they also have the army guy show up here?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
This
Well, he does like all of them.
Yeah,
and
the army guy shows up, the hunter guy, all that.
They, do everything with the kids. They get down the trolls, and then one of the kids says, "No muss, no fuss. The trolls are dust." Ernest is a great bunch of guys.
He also calls Ernest like a split personality or something when he starts doing the bit. Ernest is Legion.
And then Trantor does a thing where he I think you already said it, he's getting all the souls and becoming Satan, and
He says, "Demons, give me power." He literally name drops demons, and it makes him bigger, and he gets tentacles growing out of his ears.
And then Trantor creates a ring of fire between the townsfolk and Ernest and him.
Yeah, and then Ernest tries the milk on him. And does he say, "I've grown too powerful for milk," or does someone?
No, he said.
Crowd.
I wrote this down. He said, "Not even milk can stop me now."
Yeah.
So good.
Very all of Trantor's lines are delivered a serious monster voice.
Not even milk can stop me now.
Not even milk. And now Ernest is trapped in the ring of fire, fighting this demonically empowered troll.
They start to tussle, and then Old Lady Hackmore reveals to the mayor, for some reason, that Ernest needs to have a child's heart to do this.
I think this is great, because if we accept that this is the end of the failure timeline, then it's he gets another shot, right? To go through the ritual in a way.
Yeah.
To abandon his fear of death.
Just time.
And embrace this unconditional love of this troll, and kill him by hugging him and dancing around.
How does he figure out that he's supposed to hug it? I don't remember Hackmore telling him. I remember Hackmore just telling the mayor.
I think he just remembers the unconditional love or the child's heart thing, and he puts it together himself.
And then he ends up doing a lovely ballet hug scene with the troll, and then giving him a kiss, going, "Ew." And then the troll seizures out of existence with a vortex full of ghosts.
Yeah.
Everybody's cheering on Ernest, and then the kids come back from being statues, including 3 or 4 other kids that we've never seen before.
Well, Lady Hackmore has little statues in her house, and at the beginning of the big troll fight, she sneaks off and puts them in the tree. And so then they return, and they see her, and they're like, "Our sister!" And it's what? How old is she? How did she... I thought that was 100 years ago. What's that?
Yeah, it seemed like it was witch
ago.
hunting times, like 1600s.
Well, it's just some time ago.
And then Ernest is sad, and he's like, "Well, there's nothing in that tree for me." And then Rimshot comes out of the truck. He gets licked, and then Eartha Kitt smiles at the camera. And the movie ends.
Yeah, that is the end of the movie.
So we actually skipped rating this movie, which we should definitely talk about next. But before we do that, is there anything else in particular that you guys had notes for other things that happened in this movie? So I have a couple, but I want to give you guys a chance first.
No, I'm good.
I'm also good.
Okay. I just want to note what happens to the end of the Tulip Brothers, because they show up at the troll fight too, and then the trolls just eat their camera and then get gored, and then that's the extent of that.
Yeah, they want to sell the photos of the trolls to the National Enquirer or something, and then the trolls destroy their camera, which is what they deserve.
Yeah, for sure. How dare they? At one point, Old Lady Hackmore out yells a troll, which is good. Classic joke. And I just wanted to note something that bothered me in the movie, earlier on. While Kenny is running around and is about to get scared by the Murdoch kids in a boat, the movie's just playing jungle sounds as background noise. There's this monkey sounds coming out of nowhere. It doesn't make any sense, and it's very weird.
And it's probably just easy to license sound effect library
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You're just seeing like a lack of effort on screen, unfortunately.
For sure. So let's talk about our rating. So, Zach, start us off. You're our guest. What would you rate this movie? Out of 10 or out of 5?
I'll do. I think I did out of 5 last time. Boy, I hope I did.
No, you didn't.
Oh no, I didn't. I did out of 10. So okay, out of 10 on this one, I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm gonna have to go 3. I'm gonna have to go 3. I don't know.
Wow.
It didn't make me laugh as much, especially when they were trying to make me laugh. I remembered it. I remember it in much higher esteem than my actual experience watching it this time, and I really, again, like I said on the last episode, the biggest mistake a movie can make is being dull. And I actually found this kind of dull because it wasn't that there were a lot of missed opportunities, I think. Yeah, so I'm gonna go 3 with this one. It wasn't that much fun to watch.
Okay,
for me.
Nate,
I'm going to give it a 5. I'm going to put it right between my rating for Ghost of Camp and Jail and my rating for Saves Christmas. I think this is more enjoyable. It's more earnesty. It's crazier than Saves Christmas. But yeah, I don't think it's like as good as Ghost of Camp or Ghost of Jail. I mean, I talked before, earlier in this episode, I was like, oh, I can't really remember the order of events. And it's like, I can remember everything that happened in this movie. It's not like there are parts that just like out of my memory. But I think the fact that I can't keep them in a coherent order is a huge mark against this movie, because while I think less happens overall in Jail, sure, but I can keep everything in Jail in order in my brain because I was just ultimately more engaged in that movie. I like this more than Zack did, and like I just really dig all the wild stuff with the troll and him trying to kill Ernest with a scimitar, and like I really just can't. There's no way I can give a movie that includes a scene where a troll with a sword tries to kill a garbage man to end a centuries-long blood feud while they're both standing on top of a truck being driven by a dog. Like that, just for the sheer craziness of like, that's a scene someone conceived and wrote and directed and people acted. It's going to get over like a 3 or a 4 from me, but I think I'm going to top out at a 5.
Okay. I can agree with that. I also, first and foremost, when Zach, you were talking about this as well, Nate and I watched this movie before. We watched it again for the podcast, and I think we remembered liking it a lot better, and just because of our initial reaction to it. But when we watched it again and sat down and really talked about it, it just, didn't click as much. And I originally thought that it might be like a 6, like on par with Ghost of Camp, but now that I think more about it and think about how it's just all over the place and it's extremely chaotic, it's enjoyable, but it's also really kind of underwhelming overall. So I think I'd give it a 5 as well.
You couldn't be more right about the truck scene being like conceptually like a bouquet of like wildness that's like wonderful.
For sure.
It's so like conceptually, but I remember like, and watching it actually, like, it was kind of thrilling because I just didn't remember it. So you're absolutely right about that.
Okay. So now that we've done that, you guys want to talk about essentials, or do you want to get the high point, low point?
Let's do essentials. I don't know if there's. Do you have anything to add to essentials? I think this hits almost all of the ones that we have already. Not all of them.
Well, let's go down the list. Let's go down the list. So
sure.
We got hat and vest. Check.
Yeah.
But we got low status with ambition and class struggle. Now we have low status, but we don't have any ambition here. Ernest wants to fight a troll, but he doesn't want to get another job or want to get respect or anything like that. If it wasn't for the troll, he wouldn't have a goal.
I believe Johnny Cochran said that. Without the troll, there is no goal. Yeah. So yeah, he doesn't have the ambition. I think that this is not evidence for us removing that. I feel like this is evidence for us keeping the ambition.
Right.
Part. That is essential for the perfect Ernest movie. That is a weakness with this movie, that he doesn't want something at the beginning of the movie.
Correct, and I agree with that. We got craftsman, definitely. Even though we're not sure what he's craftsmaning, he's craftsmaning. We got
He probably builds more in this than in other movies. I mean, he's got a bunch of stuff already built in Goes to Jail.
Yeah, this is
true.
He doesn't build anything. He doesn't build anything in Goes to Jail. He builds that tree with them in this one. So
true.
Built a catapult and Goes to Jail.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean,
I
in Goes to Jail, like you're saying, he doesn't build anything, but his house is basically Pee Wee's Playhouse. So he, at some point, he built all that crazy stuff for him to use.
Yeah, but that's what we were talking about, is seeing him build something versus something
right.
built.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, continuing on, he has that folksy wisdom. He has his classic catchphrases. Ew. You know what I mean? And and there's definite an element of slapstick comedy, right?
Yeah. This fourth wall thing is not really there, and I think we should just remember
Yeah,
that.
so we talked about this last time where it's like, this only happened in camp, and we were considering removing it. I think this movie goes to show that that's just not a thing that we need, because even if we put it in this movie, I don't think it would benefit the movie at all. So we're going to delete that. And then the next thing is...
When he looks at the camera and goes, ew, that doesn't count as breaking the fourth wall? When he's like... Because that's like...
Yeah, I mean, he is looking at the camera, but I think that's just like... I feel like that's less supposed to be him addressing the camera and more of the camera just really focusing in on his reaction.
Right. I mean, there's points in this movie where he does address the camera, but the camera is clearly like a troll that he's dealing with. And like in Ernest Goes to Camp, he legitimately was like, well, this is my life here at camp, just so you know.
Yeah, he like talks to the viewer.
Got it.
Which I guess was them trying to like synthesize the Hey Vern stuff into a movie. And then they experimented with just having a Vern bit in Saves Christmas, and then they just dropped it entirely.
Yeah. So I don't know if we like really need it as an essential moving forward, so I'm happy with crossing it off. The next one is something that we also kind of put on the back burner last time. Gamera-esque. Friend to all children / child at heart. He's clearly a child at heart.
I mean,
and in this movie, he's a friend to all children.
Yeah, I think this stays. And, like, it's literally plot relevant. Like, it is mystically relevant that he's a child at heart in this movie.
For sure, but comparing this with Goes to Jail, is it better to have him have these kid sidekicks in the movie, or is it better to just have him have, like, a rimshot relationship and not worry about kids?
Okay. I think we keep this because it's, like, his character. Mm-hmm. Like, even if Ernest doesn't interact with a kid in the movie, he should still be friend to all children, should he encounter one. But I think my argument is keep this on here, but don't add kid sidekick as an essential element, because I think this movie shows it's not really necessary.
Okay. I'm going to make a note of that.
No, he's almost never with them. He knows them.
Yeah, it's really just like that one part where they build the treehouse. And then other than that, he's mostly on his own, or with Rimshot.
Okay. Then we're moving on to complicated relationship with animals and machines, which is, I would say, a check.
Totally in this movie.
Incompetent / inept, check.
Sure.
Cartoon violence.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Overly and quickly confident, for sure.
He's the baby, he's the boy.
He's the baby, he's the boy. Can't eat, check.
Okay. This is a saga on this podcast. Yeah, I guess he doesn't eat. I guess.
Easily bamboozled / distracted. Is that a thing in this movie?
He doesn't really get bamboozled. He does get distracted. I mean, that's the whole thing where you were talking about that you like so much, where he smashes his hand in the dumpster.
True.
When he's trying to set the troll
True.
trap.
Okay. Supernatural element, 100% check.
The most that we've ever had.
Now, here's an interesting conversation for you, Nate, and maybe also for you, Zack, because this is another thing we put on the back burner last time. The weight of prophecy.
I forgot that was even still in here. I mean, it's back in this, but I still don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
I do like it. It's funny that there's a prophecy around Ernest. I would maybe put it in my pitch because I think it's funny. I definitely don't think you need it because... Like, we all basically came to the conclusion that Goes to Jail is a better movie than this, and Goes to Jail does not have that.
Okay. So, we'll just cross that off the list, but keep it in our heart.
Yeah. We can remember it. There's no rule that says we can't remember things, even if they're not on the list.
Chaos, 100% check.
Yeah, for sure.
Ernest must suffer physically and emotionally, but ultimately triumph.
That's totally in this, and I still think it's completely necessary.
Self-sacrifice. Not in this.
I mean, he goes to fight the troll one-on-one with full knowledge that he might die. He does that multiple times in this movie.
But he doesn't do it, like, for somebody else. I mean, maybe he does it, like, to like...
Does it for the town.
Like, for, like, a redemption arc of, like, getting revenge for Rimshot. But, like, it doesn't seem like he's, like, going out of his way to sacrifice himself for the town.
I mean, I think that's totally what's happening in the end with the Ring of Fire scene. Like, marches off to fight the troll to protect the townspeople who are behind the Ring of Fire.
Okay. Well, then we'll definitely keep that in. And then, of course, Master of Disguise / Impressions. That's kind of like...
I mean, that's all over this. Not the Master of Disguise,
he doesn't,
but the Impressions.
Does he ever really use the disguise?
Well, he's in disguise, but, like, we don't see him disguise himself. He just kind of is.
But he's never in disguise.
Yeah.
Good point.
So, I mean, it's fine. This is like the movie where it, like, just combines those two, where it's like, oh, he's doing impressions, but also he's in the disguise of that impression. I don't know. It's fine. Moving on.
I still think it's a necessary element, though.
No, for sure. Yeah. Moving on. We gotta talk about Rimshot.
Okay, so here's my argument for Rimshot. If the list is things that would be essential for, like, elements that would need to be in the Perfect Ernest movie, I think despite the fact that we are not going to see him again after this movie, I still think Rimshot is essential for the Perfect Ernest movie. But I'm willing to remove it if you guys really want to. I would still probably end up putting Rimshot in my final pitch. Boy.
All right.
Yeah, I think he adds a lot. I think he's a powerful force for good in the Ernest universe. I don't know why I said that. Doesn't make any sense.
As a guest, my 2 cents on this is, and I'm not pro Rimshot. I don't know why. Something about him, I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way. But my 2 cents, as far as what you guys are trying, this endeavor, in regards to this, Nate, I'm gonna have to go with you on this. I think he's necessary. He's necessary, and damn it, I think Ernest needs him.
So here's my thought process on this, because as we know, and as we're letting you guys know, in general, listeners, this is the last movie to feature Rimshot. He's only in Ernest Goes to Jail and Ernest Scared Stupid. He is no longer in any Ernest movie moving forward, which is a bummer. But I think what we should do in terms of that, with that knowledge, is keep Rimshot on the list for now, and then as we go over the other movies and watch them and do our analysis, let's determine if those movies would have been improved by Rimshot or not, and maybe we take Rimshot off the list later and just have it be like The Weight of Prophecy, where it's enjoyable and it might be a good element, but it's not necessarily essential.
That's fair. So, to be honest, if you had made an argument against keeping Rimshot on the list, I would have made the exact argument you just made to keep him. So, I'm totally on.
So there we go. So then, one last thing. Ernest has to hit rock bottom. He does. Works out well. And then, I'm curious. There seems to be an ongoing pattern in these movies where there's always just this one character that absolutely, without a doubt, no question, hates Ernest's guts and wants him to die or get fired or have the worst thing happen to him. Do we think that's essential?
I don't know, because it kind of isn't in two of them. There is not that person in Saves Christmas. And there's not really that person in Goes to Camp. There's the other counselors who look down on it.
No, there is. There is the contractor.
Add to it. No, it doesn't matter. Oh, yeah, the sure.
Yeah,
but he's like also actual villain.
In Saves Christmas, we've established that Ernest is not the main character, and the main character has somebody that just absolutely hates him and calls him Mr. Santos.
Okay.
So I think it's a recurrent theme, but Zack is getting to the point of it. Is this something that is an essential to these movies? Is this something that actually helps out these movies, or is it just like a weird thing that keeps on going on, like those two Chuck and Bobby characters?
Is it additive, and is it fun to... Here's the thing. I actually liked watching Ernest interact with Smurfy Puddles in the last movie, and I kind of wish he had a scene or two where the mayor was being mean to him in this one. And the more I think about it, it makes me realize I actually think this might be actually a very additive element, and it's good to give him someone who's kind of rooting against him, especially if he has if he is friend to children and he has a rim shot in his life. There's good to be someone kind of personifying the world at large, essentially being against him, and I like it when it's these cartoonish big guys. I think Josh is right.
Okay, so Ernest needs a hater.
Yeah.
Ernest needs a hater.
I agree.
All right, I'm adding that to the list. Cool.
Because think about how much fun it would be if the Murdochs are bullying the kids. The kid Murdochs are bullying the kids, and the mayor is like shitty to Ernest instead of like kicking it down to the sheriff like he does. Like, think about like that works better in this movie. If you have, like, you know, we have the mayor bitching about Ernest to another character who's basically just in this to be like a cop and a dad. And it's not like, I'm not calling BS on that logic. It makes a lot of sense. But it might have been a lot more fun to have, like, another, like, kind of cartoony, like, Ernest, how long have I been asking you to clean the Hackmore house? And, like, you know what I mean? This guy, he's a bully, and his kids are bullies, and you know what I mean?
I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm totally agree with that. I mean, I think we really are refining it down to the core elements of Ernest. So I think as time passes, we're going to have less and less addition.
Then moving on, high and low points. So, start us off, Zack.
Okay, I think my low points. I know. All right, here's what it is. I have to be honest here. I think my low point is that the scene between Pizza Woman and her teddy bear daughter, which is so bizarre. I'm sorry if I'm saying this again, but we watched it twice because I was like, what in the hell? I mean, it's worth... I would say watch this movie just to get to that point. Because it's so like nothing else.
That seems like a... But then that's still your low point?
Yes. Well, okay. And then my high point is also that scene.
Interesting.
Nate, you've walked right into my trap. My high point is also that scene, and like,
okay,
if I'm allowed like a slight bonus high point, it's also the scene when the townspeople are yelling at the sheriff because it's shot in the most bizarre way by like a handheld cam. So like it's like I just don't understand why in the world it was shot that way, and I don't know why it sticks out to me as being like, that's so weird, it's delightful, but it was.
There's a couple of points of like kind of novel camera work in this.
But it wasn't good, though.
Bit.
You understand? Like, I'm saying, like, this was like, why in the world?
That's why I said novel. And I'm more positive.
It's just very charitable terminology you're using there.
Because there's also a couple points where I think these are better than that, though. Where they're doing like the Evil Dead thing with the tracking camera to show the troll's point of view, which I dug those. I like almost any time that happens in a movie. Okay, interesting. I feel like I was trapped in a dumpster by a baby covered in fish hooks.
Well, we've all been there, man.
Mm-hmm.
My high point is the truck scene.
Sure. Yeah.
Or if we have to be more specific, it is the troll saying that Ernest will pay for the sins of his forefathers.
Wait, what's he say?
This is you'll pay for the sins of your forefathers.
Okay.
That's my high point. I love that scene. I mean, also rimshot driving, like the whole thing is like it's so bonkers. It just appeals to me. My low point is the lack of Gaylord Sartain. It is the presence of Tom Tulip at the expense of our beloved Chuck.
Pour one out.
Okay.
That's a good low point, Nate.
For me, my high point is
Truck and Chuck.
My high point is also the car fight scene, just in general, of the troll trying to get on top of the truck and Ernest fighting it while Rimshot is driving and saying, "You will pay for the sins of your forefathers." So I'm on board with that, Nate. I mean, this movie has a lot of good quotes, like "Not even milk can stop me now." But that scene in general is great.
You're right. Not even Milk Can Stop Me Now is pretty funny.
Right? I like the Miak thing. I don't think it's the best scene of this movie, though. So I definitely think that's my high point. And then for my low point, I think it's at the beginning of the movie where Ernest first does the explanation of the Ottoman Empire and has all those characters. And it just feels so ultimately unnecessary. And we're like, what is going on? What is happening? And I just didn't think that we needed it in this film.
I think you're feeling the joylessness that I'm talking about. I really do.
Maybe.
So we got a clear, like, Josh and I agree on a high point, which means we outvote Zack. The official high point of this movie is the truck scene. All apologies to Pizza Woman and Teddy.
My thoughts go out to Pizza Woman and Teddy Girls, friends and family.
Okay.
Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers.
We're all in disagreement about the low point. I mean, I don't want to... I think the Pizza Woman and Teddy Girl scene is not a low point, especially because it gives us that part where she goes, the heart of the child, which I love.
That little
so
girl
I'm like perfectly willing to change my...
The little girl says to her mom, I hate you! And the mom just is like, oh no, she looks downtrodden. She's like, oh, my daughter just said, I hate you. I mean, the daughter storms off and the mother's just sitting there like, just gathering herself.
No,
because
not at all.
This child.
Zach, this is not the scene.
Because she says, I hate you, and then the mother says, well, you're not too bad.
Yes, exactly. There's no feeling bad for the mom.
The mom's gathering herself because this woman has carried this child in her body, and she's watched it raise into this thing that's now saying, I hate you to it. And the daughter also is like, wait a second. She stops dead in her tracks. Her face completely changes and turns and warmly says to her mom, I love you, Mom. I'm so sorry. And, you know, the mom, of course, says, I love you too. I love you too, sweetheart. And they fucking laugh and they hug. And
look, Zach, says, we're agreeing with you that it's a good point of the movie, but we can't agree with you that it's also a bad point of the movie. I'm sorry.
It's also bad.
I can't get on board with it being a low point.
The heart of a child.
I'm willing to change my tune to agree with Josh about the Ottoman thing, because honestly, I didn't like that either.
No, it's no fun. It's just no fun.
I was basically, I was just showing my loyalty to the pre-established characters with my pick of that point.
Okay, so with that in mind, our previous Ernest high point was the vaudeville scene from Ernest Goes to Jail. Does the truck fight beat that scene?
No.
As much as it pains me to say, it does not. That scene, the pen scene is.
That's
just
going to be tough to dethrone.
Like the truck scene is wild, but like mostly because it's like inexplicable, and it's like, what the fuck is this movie? Whereas the pen scene achieves exactly what it's trying to do. It works perfectly. Like it is a very well executed comedy. I got to give it up to the pen scene.
Yeah. Me too. That's going to be really tough to dethrone, I would think. I mean,
I think so.
Yeah, I don't have skin in that race, but man, that scene is so funny.
For sure.
I accidentally kept popping up when I was trying to find scenes of Jim Varney eating. Like, how about the pen scene? I was like, nah, I know that doesn't count.
All right. So with that in mind, the low point that Nate and I have agreed on with the Ottomans thing. Is that worse than, let's see here, put on my glasses, the gratuitous threat of assault?
Yeah, no, the assault threat is worse. I mean, at the end of the day, even setting aside, like, let's move into a realm of abstract ideas, which, I mean, listeners of the show will know I already live there. And just think about our reactions. The Ottoman scene was just kind of like whatever. Like, I didn't even really have a strong reaction to it when it happened, which is part of the problem. The other scene was like made me groan and made me uncomfortable. So it's definitely worse.
Okay. Well, that settles that. So we kind of covered Ernest.
Oh wait, you know what? No, I disagree. I think the Ottoman thing's worse.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm
really?
just
Zach, you're outvoted.
I'm just fucking...
Well, see, I think it's the Ottoman scene is worse, but that's just because I have so much Turkish pride.
So where do we go from here? What's next on our Ernest journey?
Oh shit, what is next?
Well, I'll tell you. Ernest, he rides again.
Oh, he does ride again. I don't remember anything about this movie. This is the one that I'm going to have the least, even though I've seen it before, I'm going to have like probably the least foreknowledge going into this because I couldn't even tell you what the premise of this movie
Neither
is.
could I, because it is extremely baffling. The last Ernest movie to ever hit theaters, Ernest Rides Again, is what we will cover in our next episode.
I read that this was the last one to hit theaters.
Mm-mm.
I think this Rides Again got a smaller theatrical release than this, but I think it was still in theaters.
After this is when they broke ties with Disney.
Yes. Yeah. You know, I think that movie will blow us away. Maybe not in the way we're expecting. But anything else to add, gentlemen?
Well,
I mean, you will pay for the sins of your forefathers, but that doesn't have much to do with the podcast.
That's true. I will. I already have, and I already will. All right, then. Well, until next time, listeners, remember, there is a right and wrong in the universe, and the distinction is not hard to make. You know what I mean?
All of you, Vern. But now you gotta move, Vern.